Hello and welcome to another episode of the Two Abdullahs show, where you can join us live and call in and discuss the most juiciest and interesting topics from Islamic theology and mythology. Today we have a very special topic for you, and it centers around the Islamic concept of paradise, which ironically seems to be so hedonistic that it almost resembles a heavenly brothel in the sky. Disclaimer that we will go into details about certain things that might not be the best or appropriate for viewers of all age. So again, 18 plus. With that aside, we'll just give you a quick backdrop. So we will discuss today what is the Islamic heaven, how many gates there are, how many levels there are, what do men get versus what do women get in heaven, what kind of foods, what kind of luxuries, and then some theological aspects at the end, and then try to tie it all together. Does this even make sense? So without further ado, I will have my friend Samir start the presentation, and we will get right into it. Let's go.
All right. I hope you guys and gals are excited and ready for a jam-packed session of the Two Abdullahs. We have a link that I've created on my blog. If you want to support the show as well, check it out at the bottom there. It's abdullahsamir.com/blog/the Two Abdullahs call-in show. So you can support us financially to keep doing this. All right. So I think I've been watching too much Mufti Abu Layth. I'm like, all right. All right, the appeal of paradise. So this all goes back to what we humans want. What do we humans want? And of course, whoever was writing it, what did he want? It seems like number one on the list is sexual appeal. And there's also a very general visceral appeal. So there's food, there's clothing, there's gold, there's couches, there's rivers of milk and honey. The other interesting thing is how 7th century it all seems. The descriptions of paradise in the Hadith talk about tents and, basically based on the imagination, pomegranates and things that you would expect, people in the desert to want. You don't hear about watermelon, my favorite fruit. You don't hear about mangoes or bananas. Not that it has to mention these things, but it's just interesting that it's the specifics are very specific to what was around Muhammad. Then of course there's a very strong desire that we all have to be reunited with our loved ones. The fragility of life. Not white fragility, but life fragility is a big thing, right? I mean, we all want to live forever. We all want to be with our family members. We all want to meet our loved ones, and it's all understandable. So the Islamic heaven, and heaven in general, even in Christianity, it hijacks this idea, this desire to want to live forever, this desire to meet God. We're not going to talk about hell. That's the other.
That will be next episode. Yeah.
And of course, meeting God. That's sort of important.
The ultimate goal.
Do you want to add anything to that, or should I?
One thing was that if you notice, all of these appeals and desires and incentives are very materialistic, hedonistic. But what one asks, well, are we going to be in a human material form in paradise, or are we going to be a soul or some immaterial different form that doesn't die? So you kind of ask, does it even make sense to offer these materialistic desires in heaven at all, right? So one could ask, like, do we exist in the same form? What form will be there? Will we be our 20-year-old self when I had all my body jacked up, or will we be the 50-year-old man? It varies. Like, you can ask. Again, like, people's taste and food changes, whatnot. Like I said, since 7th century themes, they're going to talk date palms, pomegranates, and all those kind of rewards, or the horse running under the shade of the tree, or you'll get 100 camels or something, right? Obviously, you can also see one thing is the projection that he gives you is very 7th century, where if you were to try to imagine heaven in the 21st century, you could make astronomically more meaningful things or desires for yourself. So this kind of shows that this was just made up from the mentality of 7th century Arabia, and that's what's projected as heaven. But like, one other thing, for example, with foods and clothing, like, do we even get hungry in heaven? What's the point? Like I said, with the khamar, right? The intoxicant that doesn't give you drunk. So what?
Yeah.
Wine doesn't really taste good. What do you want to drink it for?
And then that's a good point, because even the whole sexual desire, it comes from, it's an evolved desire to reproduce. I mean, that's why it's such a powerful instinct, because it keeps us alive. Not because it keeps us alive, but because it kept us alive, it became more and more reinforced to the point of it's one of the most powerful desires that we have as human beings. Because if we didn't, we'd be dead. And the ones who didn't have that desire, well, their genes weren't passed on. The ones that their genes were passed on. So again, you're right. It's just very silly, right? Like all of this is silly.
I mean, to put it frankly, I don't know who said it. I think it's Christopher Hitchens, that offering pussy in the afterlife is one of the lowest things you can do.
Yeah. Right. And I just, the other thing too that I don't know if we're going to go into this or not, is just how the human being in heaven is not you. It's a different you. It's a totally different you that we'll give examples of how it's not even really going to be you. It's going to be a different person. But because what you are is you love your family, you have certain things. But in paradise, if your family is a disbeliever, suddenly now you're going to have no empathy for them. You'll be laughing at them. So we'll go into that though. Yeah. So the question is it really going to be you, or is it going to be something else? Okay, I'm going to play this clip about the 8 gates of paradise.
So what this clip is going to briefly show is a good animation. This is made by a Muslim, not a parody, although it might seem like a little bit, very well done. It's going to go different gates of paradise and how many people and which kind of people will enter through it. So you can play the clip now. I'm muting myself.
I'd like to begin just with an introduction to the 8 doors of Jannah. There are, as the Prophet ﷺ explained to us, there are 8 doors to Jannah. And Allah describes in the Quran that there are also 8 doors to Jannah. We mentioned it in classes before. In Al-Bukhari, in the chapter of fasting, it names 4 particular doors. And these doors' names are Bab al-Salat, the door of prayer, Salat. Another door is called Bab al-Jihad, the door of striving and struggling with your might and blood and property in the cause of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There is also a door called Bab al-Rayyan, the door of Rayyan. And this door is for the people who fast, the fasting people who fast Ramadan and voluntary fasting before and after. So Rayyan, many quenches for those who fast and keep themselves away from food and water during prescribed times. Number 4, Bab al-Sadaqah, or Bab al-Sadaqat, the door of charity, those who give in charity voluntarily, other than the zakat. In other hadiths, different sources and versions, there are also Bab al-Iman, the door of Iman. It's called al-Iman. These are for the people who will enter it without any judgment or accountability on the Day of Judgment. Also Bab al-Kadhimin al-Ghayb wal-Afina 'anil nas, the door of those who restrain their anger and pardon people, forgive people for their mistakes. There's also Bab al-Radiyin. These are the people who are satisfied with Allah had given them in this life, and they don't grovel over the world and its, and fight for it and get jealous over it and compete for it. And there's also Bab al-Tawbah, the door of repentance. This door of repentance is open all the time. Rasul told us that Allah's mercy and this door of repentance is open all the time. Rasul told us, وَرِضْوَانُ خَازِنُهَا. Ridwan is the gatekeeper of Jannah. So maybe there is a gate which everyone enters, and then you are entered through the doors that you are most deserving of. We spoke about Rasul saying that there will be people who will be called to enter from any door they wish.
Okay. You want to comment on that? Ridwan, is that apostate prophet? Is he going to be the gatekeeper of Jannah? Ridwan? That's the only Ridwan I know.
I think it's the angel Ridwan. But just in thinking about this, so from what it seems, heaven is this garden in heaven which has these gates surrounding it, and like every gate has like this different entry point for different people. So like, hey, if you're in the fasting club, here you go. If you're in the prayer club, here's your ticket to it.
Yeah.
But it just seems ridiculous. Like at this point, there's so many gates and there's so many unnecessary nitpicky details that just seem out of place.
Yeah, it's an appeal to make people do certain things, I guess, and all of it is to reinforce the values of Islam and the teaching. So
I like that they had dedicated a whole gate to jihad, and I like the drawings the guy was making. Like I said, this video is almost seemed like a parody.
yeah, the jihad thing is definitely a big theme, and we talk about
In
that
fact,
later.
a lot of the people some scholars have called jihad the sixth pillar of Islam in many Orthodox books.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Thanks. Yeah. So there's also some good things in there, like obviously, forgiving people
Yeah.
and mercy. Well, repentance. Repentance goes back to the whole thing about we're all sinful and the whole praying and fasting. A good Muslim is someone that is constantly praying and constantly fasting. It just keeps reinforcing, like that certain individual who said I left Islam because I didn't want to pray and fast. It's almost like a hilarious concept to say that praying and fasting is supposed to keep you believing. But in a sense, I mean, that's what it does. You just keeps you doing the routine, right? You just keep doing it, and it stops you. I don't know. It's supposed to be something that makes you reflect, but apparently.
Well, I think the verse in the Quran is something like "Inna salata tanha anil fahsha'i wal munkar," something like
keeps you away from evil.
Yeah, something like that. So
all right.
We now move forward so for the people who don't know that there's verses in the Quran that says like there are 7 heavens, there are 7 earths. So some people say that there are 7 layers of Jannah, and then Allah also gives names of these specific places in different verses throughout the Quran, not in a chronological order. But what we've done here is that we've given you just a kind of a framework to see that there's 7 different layers of Jannah: Jannah Firdaus, Al-Adn, Al-Na'im, Darul Khuld, Jannatul Ma'wa, Dar Salam, Illiyun. So it's kind of like business versus first class versus economy class. So like the lowest heaven, you only get like 2 girls and you gotta go fetch your own food. The fruit will be hanging, but in the next class, the little young boys will bring you the fruit and the drinks.
Yeah.
And in the extremely good class, you'll be chilling with the prophets and everything, hanging out with them. So there's different classes, and same way there's different levels of hell as well, 7 layers.
Now, just so we don't confuse the matter, this is not what 7 heavens means in the Quran.
Yeah.
The Quran, when it says 7 heavens, sabah samawat, it's talking about the sky, the 7 skies. Now, we're not going to go into that. That's a different issue. Jannah in Arabic means garden. So, Jannatul Aden, Garden of Eden, right? That's where the idea comes from. It's a garden. It's a strange concept that there's different levels. If you're gonna get, when we're gonna come across this question over and over again. What is it? What's in there for women? Why is everything for men? Why is this all of this emphasizing men? And what we're gonna find out is the answer is, well, you're gonna get whatever you want. Well, if you're gonna get whatever you want, I mean, then why is there different levels? And if there's different levels, what's the point? I mean, it just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
If you're in the lowest heaven and you have everything you ever wanted and you won't have any need, then what's the difference? You know what I'm saying? It's like you're going to a club and one room has like the Halloween theme and the other room has like Harry Potter theme or something, and the other one has a goth theme. Is it just different? Is there any benefit to being in a higher paradise and a lower paradise? You get like, if you get more, what does that even mean if you have unlimited everything? Right?
Yeah. So it's not technically everybody that enters heaven gets exactly what they desire. Because if I'm in the lowest heaven and I want these special boys to serve me, or I want to chill out with the prophets, and I make a wish, hey Allah, I want to chill with Muhammad. He's like, no, you can't. You didn't do enough good deeds for you to be able to get there.
Yeah, it's weird, right? It's just
Jannah classism, bro.
It's just it's really mythology at the end of the day when you look at it. What's the point? Like, what's the point of having different classes? Either you get in or you don't get in. What's the difference? Well, the problem is if you design it that way, that'd be more logical. But then, how do you get people to do more and more and more? Like, how do you get them to like go and fight and all of these extra things that you want them to do? Because they're like, well, I'm already Muslim, I'm already fasting and praying. Now you want me to do more than that? You want me to go and fight too? Yeah. You'll get more. You'll get more. Right?
Instead of 2 virgins, you'll get 70.
72, right? Like, come on.
All right. So before we proceed, I just want to know that now we're going to get into the description of the big-eyed heavenly holy virgins. This is R-rated. Like I said, this is not me. You have to tell Allah to tone it down. and the Islamic scholars that we're going to show here, and Muhammad and his companions. But we will see some interesting clips from some great scholars. Let's go into it, and after that, we'll take our call.
وصفها وصفا دقيقا حتى وصف أجزاءها فقال جل جلاله إن للمتقين مفازا حدائق وأعنابا وكواعب أترابا أتدري ما معنى وكواعب أترابا؟ أي أفداء الحور. الله جل جلاله يصف أفداء، نعم، حتى يعلمك ما في الجنة، وأنه لا حياء في هذه الأمور، حتى يجعلك تتنافس وتتسابق. إنها رسالة إلى من ضيع الجنة بشهوة ساعة. اسمع أفداء الحوريات كيف، وكواعب أترابا، أي نواهد الحور كالرمان ليست متدلية إلى أسفل، زيادة في الحسن والجمال. أين المحبون للنساء؟ أين المشتاقون للحور؟ كم هم الذين باعوا الحوريات لأجل فتاة سافرة فاجرة؟ قال الله جل وعلا حتى الجماع والمعاشرة ذكره الله حتى يشوق، حتى يعلمك ما في الجنة، ليس فقط أكل وشرب ونعيم، بل هناك جماع ليس كجماع الدنيا، وهناك نساء ليسوا كنساء الدنيا. قال ربي جل جلاله إن أصحاب الجنة اليوم في شغل فاكهون هم وأزواجهم على الأرائك متكئون. قال أبو مسلم قلت لابن عباس ما شغلهم؟ الله يقول إن أصحاب الجنة في شغل، هل عندهم أشغال؟ عندهم ما انتهى النصب والتعب والعبادة؟ ما الذي شغلهم يا ابن عباس؟ قال شغلهم افتراض الأذكار، شغلهم افتراض الأذكار. هل في الجنة جماع ومعاشرة؟ نعم. عن ابن عباس قيل يا رسول الله أنفضي إلى نسائنا في الجنة كما نفضي إليهن في الدنيا؟ قال والذي نفس محمد بيده إن الرجل ليفضي في الغداة الواحدة إلى 100 عذراء. 100 عذراء. والأعجب والأغرب أنه كلما عاد إليها وجدها بكرا وزيادة، زيادة في اللذة والأنس. يجدها بكر كما قال، ليست كنساء الدنيا تفضل بكارة وتنتهي، بل كلما خرج وزار العزيز الحميد ثم عاد يجدها بكرا. أهل الجنة يعطون قوة في المأكل والمشرب والمطعم والجماع، حتى في الجماع، لأن هناك من أهل الجنة من قد يزوج ب100 وربما بأكثر، وهو يعطى قوة 100، يعني يستطيع في غداة واحدة يجامع 100 امرأة أو 100 حورية نساء الجنة.
Do you want to just comment on that before we go to the next one?
I mean, what the hell was that?
I don't get it. Like, how is that feeling?
Obvious nonsense. And this is basically 7th century Arabian word porn disguised as religious nonsense.
It's weird. Like, why would you even want that? It's just strange.
Just to recap, he's saying that, and what he does is وَكَوَائِبَ أَتْرَابًا, and he emphasizes that verse. He recites it with a lot of emphasis, saying what he's reciting is, and the women will have big or nice sized breasts. And then he's explicitly not hiding anything, saying, yes, Allah did this just to give you an incentive to make you lust for paradise. Which looks very bad that women are being used as objects to lure men to believe and do things for Allah's sake. So are they really doing it for Allah's sake, or are they doing it to attain the houris in heaven, right? There's one thing is that. Then he's saying like the objectification is insane, where women have boobs like pomegranates and that they don't sag, and that like you can have sex with 100 virgins, and then you have the strength of 100 men, and then you'll have sex with 100 virgins in one morning, and you break their hymen, and then they'll restore itself. Like the obsession with virgins, and it's disturbing. Like it's actually disturbing.
It's really weird, and I don't know. Coming from the West, I don't really understand that. Like this question says, what if you prefer women with some experience? Like again, it's just
Exactly.
weird. It's just like
The theology doesn't make sense, heads or tails.
it's just weird. Yeah. Should I go?
What if somebody likes saggy tits? Right? Like, what is he forced to be stuck with kawaii atraba?
And it's
Right?
like normally, you know, I mean, when you have sex, you're done and you move on with your life. You do other things. It's not like you just want to do it all day. It's just, why would you want to do it all day? I mean,
Yeah,
it's just weird. Like,
well, one of the reasons why, like, we see is a lot of times the people who undergo, like, if we assert that Muhammad was an epileptic, they go with hypersexual episodes, right? And this can manifest in the religious text, which is you can see showing up here, where he got obsessed with sex, that lingered into the heavenly descriptions, his obsessiveness. And then after Khadija, he ended up marrying like what 13 women and then some sex slaves and whatnot. So it could be that, and this could be a possible explanation, but it's just disturbing. The fact that you're body shaming women too, and he's literally saying you went after a unveiled
oh
whore,
yeah,
which is just ridiculous. Like,
yeah. And someone asked a good question. What about hold on. Oh yeah, so someone said this is what jihadis fight for. Yeah, this is what jihadis fight for, because sexual frustration is an actual issue for
yeah,
people that join these things. You know, they don't let them date, they don't let them have girlfriends, boyfriends, or whatever, and then they tell them, well, this is one way you can get whatever you want, and then they take advantage of that sexual desire, right? Now there was a good question here, I'm trying to find it. What about the women, the wives on earth? Oh, here, I found it. Okay, how about the real life wife? So basically, do you want to talk about this, answer this question?
yeah, basically it said that the wives in heaven, their beauty will be magnified and they'll be even more beautiful than these hur. So I don't know. I don't even want to listen to these guys describe the believing women in paradise as if they're describing hurs like this.
Yeah,
Like,
it's just so weird. Like, yeah, women ask this question a lot. What about me? Like, yeah, my husband's going to be over there screwing number one, number two, number three, whatever, up to
100
72.
a day, yeah.
Yeah, maybe not 100, maybe 72, maybe not 72, maybe two. Even if it's just two, like, because Quran itself says that they'll have two mates. Then what about me? Like, I'm his wife. What do I get? What's up with that? And you know, the I think, I don't know if there's a hadith, but the scholars say
Yeah, something like
what you just said. Basically, the wife will be even more beautiful. So then,
Mhm.
what's the point?
Yeah.
It's just weird. Like, everything about this is so weird. Like,
And like you wanna ask like what's the subjective standard of beauty? Because what is beautiful for one person is not beautiful to the other, right? Like that's
yeah.
the thing. It's such arbitrary nonsense. But anyways, the video on the right will go into more detail about the bodily anatomy of the horrors. I'll tell you that they don't sweat in you because it's a minute long, so we'll quickly
Okay.
watch that and then we'll take a call.
الذي خلق الحور الحسان كأنهن الياقوت والمرجان فجعلهن للمؤمنين قاصرات الطرف لم يطمثهن إنس قبلهم ولا جان. أخي أتحبها؟ فلك زوجتان بدخولك الجنان، لا حيض ولا نفاس لا بصاق ولا مخاط لا بول ولا غائط، بل لو أن امرأة من أهل الجنة اطلعت على أهل الأرض لأضاءت ما بينهما ولملأته ريحا، لذا تعطى في الجنة قوة كذا وكذا من الجماع. قيل يا رسول الله أو نطيق ذلك؟ قال يعطى قوة 100 رجل، فهي تغار عليك وتغني لك. واسمع إلى قول الحبيب صلى الله عليه وسلم وهو يقول إن الحور العين لا تغنين في الجنة، لكن ليس كغناء كوكبة الشرق أو العندليب، لا، فيا من فتنت بالأغاني الماجنة ويا من استمع للأغاني الفاجرة لا تحرم نفسك من غناء الحور العين بصوتها الرخيم
All right. That was interesting. You gotta
There's
wonder.
no.
You
What
gotta.
are these houris? I'm confused.
They,
They have no
yeah.
urine, no excrement, no menstruation, no childbirth, no saliva.
Well, what I'm wondering is, how do you have sex with someone who has no bodily fluids, like no saliva, like no lubrication? I mean, that's just weird. Like, it's just weird. Like, I don't know. These are like aliens or something.
Yeah, like again, just one thing I need to reiterate to the audience here that we're not getting off on this. It's just that this is so absurd.
Yeah.
It is so absurd. We're just trying to show you that. Anyways, let's go to the next slide,
Next slide.
and we will go to the
Oh yeah,
part.
and
Yeah,
then take some call. Do you want to take the
yeah.
call?
Let's take a call, and then we'll go to the next part.
Hello, Talal. Hi again.
Hello. How are you guys?
Good, good. How's it going, man?
Good. So actually, you guys are showing already really funny stuff, and I wanted to go something a little bit philosophical. So now it feels weird, but I'll still go. Okay. So you both are aware of problem of evil, right?
Yes.
And how Christian or Islam try to answer that, and they sometimes use free will argument. And now when it comes to heaven, then free will just goes away. Because if you think about it, in heaven, what is happening is you can't be jealous of other people. You will not be fighting with other people. Even if you are in lower level of heaven, in Islamic heaven, and there are people 7 level above you, and you will be there in this hadith that you will be meeting in Bazar, and still you will be just so happy with each other. You will be greeting with each other, and then that just free will goes away. There is this predisposition, like Allah has put all of these emotions inside you and then has taken away, and that is really bizarre if you think about it. And then second point that I would like to mention is, you said what is the objective definition of beauty in Islam. So how they define it is, I think it's in one of hadiths, if Hur looks down from the heaven, then all of the light of all the visible light of sun and moon, it will just fade away. Okay, that's how that beauty is defined for the Hur, and then you can imagine that for the wives. But sad news for wives, because I read it somewhere. I remember when I was 10, 11 years old, I read this book about Jannah and how Jannah will be. And about wives is they will only get their husbands. And if they're wives, they will only get their husband, and there won't be anything else for them. Maybe they'll be beautified or anything. And that's really weird. Yeah.
Okay, interesting question. So I'll take the first one, free will in heaven versus real world. And I agree with you. For example, one glaring contradiction is we can see that the people of heaven will be laughing at the people of hell. Therefore, that means that they can process humor and see that they've been favored. So they'll have an ego inside. That's why that will enable them to laugh at the others, which is quite worrisome, seeing that somebody's being tortured and burned, you're laughing. But on the other hand, like you said, that there will be no jealousy in heaven. So how does that work, right? So it makes, again, no sense, where there's this partial cognitive ability given to you, but then it's kind of partially taken away, or the parameters are changed in such a way that you can only laugh at the disbelievers, but not get jealous of the people in heaven, you know? So it's like I said, it doesn't make sense because, like I said, it's not thought out and it is absurd. The definition of beauty, actually, we will get into the deeper anatomy as well later on. We found the hadith in the slides as well. But yeah, like you said, yeah, the huri will like show her beauty, and the whole heavens will be full of light, and the whole world will be full of perfume. It's like these hurs are these sexual goddesses that Muslims almost, covertly worship. But yeah.
And I would like to add on to that whole free will thing. I didn't read actually laughing part. What I read was they will ask people in hell, why are you in hell? And they would say, we don't pray. And that's all I have read about hell part. I didn't read like they would laugh on that. And there is this hadith, like heaven people would be talking with hell people and like, why are you in hell? And hell people would reply, oh, we didn't pray. That's why we are in hell. And that's why this actually typical Hadith is used to convince people why don't this is the only difference between a kafir and a Muslim, and that's why everyone should actually go on praying.
We're going to talk about that in the hell episode.
Okay, and one other thing about Muslim heaven is like one of the you talked about all 8 doors, but you missed one thing, that is I don't know how to say that in English. Pulsrat.
Oh yeah,
Bridge of Sirat. Like you missed that critical point. How people would be actually just cutting down on that pull, and only people who can actually cross that they can go into the heaven. Otherwise, you are just down in the hell. That would be actually interesting to talk about. Yeah.
I'll quickly comment on the Sirat, just to say that this idea existed in Zoroastrianism way before Islam, like where you have to walk over this bridge and whatnot. And Muhammad seems to have ported it over into Islamic theology. But yeah, that we'll mention that's more about judgment. So we can do an episode on Judgment Day and the scenery or what goes on, and then we can do a separate episode on hell. So that could be an interesting deep dive into those things.
Yeah.
But thanks for calling in, man. Like usual, you're a regular caller. Really appreciate it, and it's always a pleasure.
And just wanted some breaking news. I just got an email that's saying while we're doing this video, the thumbnail has been removed. The thumbnail on this video has been removed. Like, guys, you're not going to win this game of flagging and reporting. This is just silly. Like, all this does is make us more popular. When you try to shut down someone, like, you just make them that much more juicy, that much more interesting, that much more like, oh, I gotta see what these guys are talking about because they're trying to get rid of them.
That's the funny thing. Like I told you, we were discussing. I call it the Dava boost as well. These people will make so many memes about you, and they'll post them all return. Every Muslim sharing them, but then it's just free popularity.
Yeah,
like,
and the first instance of this video was taken down even before it went live, which is hilarious. Okay, so let's take another caller. Okay, 1 second. Thank you, Talal. We'll talk to you again later. Hello, Salvador.
Hi.
Hello.
Hey, thanks. First of all, I'd like to thank both of you. Both of you are doing a great job, and I've been listening to you for a while. So kudos to that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My question was on heaven. Like, if you look at the idea of heaven, and you guys were laughing at it, okay? And to us, it seems absurd. But it's a pull for so many millions of people.
Billions,
yeah, not millions, but billions. But like, my first question is that why do you think it's such a pull? Even though when you look at it, it seems so absurd, the idea that you would have like these orgies happening all the time. So why is the number one such a big pull? Is it something to do with our? Is it with the idea of hell, and then we look at heaven as what we Muslims think as like. The Muslims think as like heaven as something that's like kind of a paradise because we're afraid of the hell so much, or is it because we're just predisposed to like it so much? Because other humans find it just laughable. And what did you guys do when you were Muslims? What was your idea of heaven? How did you perceive it? Because both of you are very, very religious, versus more than like most people that listen to you. Many of them are not. Like, I was not as religious even during when I was Muslim, you know. So what was your own personal experience of heaven?
So I don't know if you missed the beginning, but we did kind of a little bit go over this, the idea of heaven, paradise. And thanks for your question and for your comments, by the way. But I think this slide summarizes it. We can probably come up with a few more things as well. And Abdul Gondal, you want to add anything to this?
Yeah, so the allure of heaven seems to stem from our desire to live on and fulfill our most wildest fantasies. And people just want to do that, right? So there's the one very, very obvious idea that, yes, it's just the Peter Pan Netherland or some Neverland, right? Where you don't grow old, you can have whatever you want, you can fly around. It's out of a fairy tale. The second is emotional, right? Where people are obviously scared of death, so they don't want to die. And this idea of posthumous rewards. If one were to approach it rationally, you can see that you were dead for 13, 14 billion years and it didn't bother you. And where were you? You just didn't exist in the form you are right now, right? So in that same sense, there's no reason to assert that they'll be any different when you die. You'll just return to the same state before your birth. But to a lot of people, this is very, very, very uncomfortable, and that has a survival psychological aspect to it, right? This also ties back with the theory of Maya and the belief of God and how evolution pushed us in this direction. Where, just to summarize, that as our language center evolved in our brain, that part of the brain is also tied with perception of the sense of self, the theory of mind, where you can project mental states or imagine other people having a mind of their own. When that came in and that skyrocketed our evolutionary trajectory, that also entailed that now we could project mental states to invisible beings. And from there on followed angels, gods, and whatnot. Now, what's the irony about this all is the theory of mind, the language center, if affected in certain cases like autism or Fragile X, you actually are much, 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 significantly much less likely to believe in God. And this shows that this has a huge emotional part of it. The third problem is like the punishment and reward, where people want to see the justice being given out, like an eternal justice with the eternal day of judgment, that all the sinners go to hell and all the good people go to heaven. It's this. This also then comes back from human exceptionalism and egocentrism, where we expect the universe to give us justice, as if we feel it's obliged to owe us a justice and whatnot. So, well, now coming to my perception of heaven, in my days, like I said, I was very orthodox Sunni, so I did take them very literally. And I mean, from where I come from in Pakistan, people like Maulana Tariq Jamil from the Tablighi Jamaat would very much focus on these very vivid and graphic descriptions of houris. So the idea I had was a very literalistic place where you'll be like about prime age, like 30, with basically doing whatever you want, the palace floating in heaven and whatnot. But that's what I will have to say for that.
I have one question. Like, why is the Muslim heaven so, like, in a way it's sexualized, and it's the other heavens in other religions, are they to the similar level? I'm not sure in Christianity if it's like that, or in Judaism it just does not exist. Even in Hinduism, if we go towards it, it's, I don't know if their idea of heaven is similar to like ours. Ours like a lot more based on desires that we had. So why do you think, why is the Muslim one, and why it's been so successful versus like others heavenly ideas are not like ours?
Well, why is the Muslim heaven appear so sexual? Good question.
Sexual, and also like so like you have food and just to basic human instincts. Why has why the other heavens have not? And do you think that's the reason that Islam has been successful?
Yeah, so it gives you a relatable materialistic framework of reward, which is obviously going to help people understand, right? If somebody were to say you will be given unlimited pleasures that are better than the feeling of sexual intercourse, well, people wouldn't really buy into that. But if you tell them you'll have sex with 100 women, they're like, I can relate to that, right? So that's one thing. Then secondly, why is it so sexualized? I did mention this a little while ago, where I believe Mohammad suffered from temporal epilepsy. And one of the symptoms of that is weird sexual behaviors, and these come and go in phases of life, right? So you can be hypo and hyper, which explains like after Khadija died, he married like 13 women and a child and whatnot. But it also can explain why Muhammad's conception of heaven was so centered around sexuality. And what you also notice is the foods and stuff, like again, like relatable materialistic things. And these things, the foods he offers them, are things that are not available easily in deserts. For example, rivers of wine and gardens, they don't grow in deserts like this, right? So offering people something that might be very appealing to them. If Muhammad was, for example, living in Europe or living in the Roman Empire, and he was to coin heaven, it would be completely different than what we see. So there's a lot of contextual and social aspect to it.
There's one more thing, that there are only 4 fruits in Quran. I think that's all. There's not more. And just like if anyone wants to go to it, there's the other fruits, they're never like mentioned in Quran. So it can just tell everyone that how Arab centric Quran is.
Exactly. In fact, like a lot of the things, this was way back in the day, just to digress. When I was very Salafi, and I was watching these debates between Deobandis and Wahhabis, and they mentioned something along the lines of this as well. But you know what? Let's not digress into it. I don't go into a completely different tangent, Wahhabi, Sunni, Brelvi, and
Yeah. This is an interesting comment by Kabir that the Muslim heaven is similar to the Persian one. It may be that Salman al-Farsi had some role in bringing these ideas into Islam, which is a good point. These ideas, like the Sirat, like you mentioned, came from Zoroastrianism. And Muhammad was probably hearing a lot of these things and adding his own ideas to it as he went along. You made a very good point about how these are things not easily accessible in a desert, and would be like considered extremely luxurious for a person in desert, which is, we're not saying that it has to contain bananas. Like, we're not saying that the Quran has to mention bananas, but we are saying that, I mean, it would have been interesting, because if this is a book for all times and all people, then why not just mention bananas? Even if Muhammad didn't know what a banana was, you could have just said it, ananas, right? Whatever. It's a word in Arabic. He doesn't have to know what it means. We would know what it means later when it became relevant.
That would be the miracle. There you go.
That's the miracle. Quran mentions bananas, but no, it doesn't.
Oh no, that means that banana was pivotal to our evolutionary history. Perfect. Okay.
Thanks for your questions.
Thank you. I like your username, Salvador Dali. That's the guy that inspired my mustache.
I can see that. You just grow it a little longer, man.
Yeah, I kind of trim it, but I might let it grow really long this time.
Yeah.
Okay, all the best.
Okay,
bye.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
All right, should we do more slides, or should we?
Yeah, let's take a few slides and then a few calls again after.
Okay, all right.
Some good conversations and questions today. It's very interesting.
So this is an example of how this is like, I found this strange even as a Muslim, because I always had empathy for other people, and I felt like non-Muslims, we have to help non-Muslims. And it just seemed like, Muhammad, when he came up with this, was feeling angry or resentful or didn't like being laughed at. Mocking is haram in Islam. Oh yeah, and that reminds me, why are we laughing about these things? I just want to, before we get onto the slide, I just want to talk about this a bit. The reason we laugh at these things is it helps people to see just how absurd the ideas are. When you make fun of something that is supposed to be so serious, it gives you a different perspective. It allows you to get through to people that sometimes they have a barrier, and when something is considered holy and untouchable, and it's a sunnah, like Abraham did it. Ibrahim broke the idols, and then he put the big axe in the big statue's hands, right? And he said, "Oh, the big statue did it." Now that's mocking, that's being sarcastic, and it actually worked, right? It has an effect on people, makes them think.
I mean, it got him thrown in the fire. But I mean, that's the thing. You can't say that those people, what they did wrong, because they were totally in line with the way of Allah. And what Allah says in the Quran, Allah does not change his ways. Okay.
So going back to the slides, I just found this very disturbing that people would be laughed at, we're going to hell. It seems like such a petty thing to do.
I think a lot of the times it happens is Muhammad, because we see about 36, 37 verses in the Quran that people, when he'd recite the Quran, they'd call him he's crazy and all sorts of names. And they would basically laugh at them and make fun of him, right? So this is his childish, retaliatory way of coming back at them. You're laughing at me now? Wait till you die. I'll laugh at you in heaven. I'm going to be having the last laugh while you burn.
It's the same thing with Surah Lahab. Oh, you're bothering me and putting things in my path. You're the one who's going to have palm fiber on your neck. And there was another one, I forgot, one of the famous non-Muslims, Walid, was it Walid ibn al-Marwan or something? I forget what it was, but he was writing poetry, and then the Quran says he's going to go to hell, and the Quran says he's going to be crushed in hell. Do you remember what I'm talking about?
Abdullah ibn Abi Shar, the guy who was described that left?
No, not him. This was one of the chiefs of Quraysh.
Oh, Walid Mughira?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. The Quran actually attacks him as well, as kind of like a comeback. Oh, you're making poetry about me. I'm going to crush you in hell and this and that. And then there's another example. The non-Muslims used to say about Muhammad, you are cut off. So he said, no, you are cut off. I'm going to have...
Yeah, we're going to use God to insult people for you.
we're gonna talk about al-Kauta. So you guys are gonna be cut off. I'm gonna have al-Kauta. So we'll get to that. So yeah, I just want to show how petty this is. I mean, this is so unbelievably petty. Like, I'm not laughing at someone that's being punished. If someone did something bad, like if they deserve a punishment, you're not. Why would you laugh at them? It's just messed up. It's just like,
Yeah.
And the companions of the fire will call to the companions of paradise, pour upon us some water or from whatever Allah has provided for you, and give me one of those bananas that doesn't exist in Jannah. They will say Allah has forbidden them both to disbelievers. So again, it's like you're blocked from, like, you're told to feed poor people here, but in hell, you have the most evil monster that's torturing them, and you can't even help these people.
It's so sad. Like, this is psychopathic at this point, where these people are seeing people in hell tortured in the most gruesome, unimaginable way. Just to unite, the least punishment would be you'd be put sandals of fire and your brain will boil.
Yeah.
The Quran goes into their chains thrown on them, 70 cubits long. They have iron rods. Their heads and their bellies are boiling from the hot oil being poured over their heads. Insanity, psychopathic insanity is described in the Quranic hell. And what we're told here, that these people in heaven will be just sitting, watching all of this, laughing and mocking. That is very, very disturbing.
Yeah. All right, we'll take 2 more slides and then we'll take questions.
Okay. So, like this one caller mentioned earlier, I think it's Talal. He said that it will be this market in heaven, and I was surprised. Yeah, there is a Sunday Bazar in heaven, or Juma Bazar, whatever you want to call it, whatever part of the world you come from. So let's read this. The Messenger of Allah said, in paradise, there is a market to which the people will come every Friday. So Juma Bazar, okay, not Sunday Bazar. The northern wind will blow. So there's a north and there's directions in heaven, okay, and shower fragrance on their faces and clothes consequently. So at the doors of this market, there's these automatic perfume dispensing machines just chilling there. Kind of like, yeah, okay. See, miracle. Allah knew about the automatic. It'll enhance their beauty and loveliness.
But why? I thought everybody's already like insanely happy. We're all just like stoned out of their minds and blissful. Why do we need to get like
more beautiful?
What beautiful? Like, what does that mean?
Why is beauty so important? Why is something such visual, superficial so important to Allah and the believers, right? It just shows how naive and lame the whole idea is. Anyway.
And honestly, like, if you showed me, like, a perfect, what someone would consider a perfect 10, whether male or female, that's it. Like, you can't get more beautiful than that. Like, you can see the most beautiful sort of, skin complexion, beautiful hair, beautiful skin color tone, whatever that is to you, your specific, what appeals to you. And then that's it. Like, there's no more beautiful than that. That's just it. Like, that's it. Like, how can you get more beautiful than the most beautiful? Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Exactly. Like, where's the level benchmark? Who's the reference point for beauty? Is it Yusuf, the guy with the most beautiful women cutting his hands off?
But even then, like, can you go above that? Like, what would make someone that you would consider a perfect 10 even more beautiful? Like, nothing. They're already a perfect 10. They have a beautiful body shape, the right, even the fact that certain things you find attractive, like they talk about pomegranate breasts or whatever, that is all evolutionary. That all comes from the fact that these are evolutionary markers that, for example, men find certain, things attractive that, even though we may not, be like overtly thinking, oh, this is a signal of good health. These are signals of good health. These are signals of reproductive ability. So, certain hip sizes or ratio, there's a certain ratio of hip to waist size that men, universally throughout all of the cultures and all over the world, they find attractive. Why is that? That's coming from millions of years of evolutionary, adjustments for us to try to detect. And women do the same thing. For women, they're looking for an hourglass. What do you call it? Like a broad chest, big shoulders. There's
feel protected. Yes.
Yes,
and evolutionary trajectories. Yeah.
Even to this day, even though it makes no sense, like from practical purposes, women tend to like taller men. Why? Why?
It's an evolutionary thing, right? Yeah,
Exactly. There's a history behind it that maybe doesn't make sense anymore, but it's still there in the back of the mind.
Talking about tall guys, we'll be giants in paradise. You'll get to that hadith. So women, you will get giants.
Yeah, and so I just think if people realize, in some ways, evolution doesn't just destroy Islam in the way you think it would, because of like Adam and Eve not making any sense. It destroys Islam and every religion in so many other ways as well, because it shows you why we are the way we are, and the way we are is because of survival, anger, all of these emotions that we have. Jealousy is a survival instinct. It's there so that your partner, let's say especially women to men, because men tended to be the providers through history, if the man runs off, and the man it's easier for a man to run off, and we see a lot more single moms and single dads, because the woman is stuck with the baby, because she physically has to deal with the baby being inside her womb for 9 months. So women have learned to test men, to make sure that this man is loyal, he's reliable, and to withhold sex. And men, the ones that stay are the good ones, are the ones that you want to partner with, because they will take care of the family, they will bond, they will be there for your kids and all that. But for the man can actually easily run away. So we find jealousy has evolved, because jealousy is there to make sure that your man, and it could be with women and women too, does not run off, does not go and spend his resources on another woman. And for the man, that your wife, and for the man too, it's so that your wife doesn't go and get pregnant with someone else's man, and you are now raising someone else's offspring without even knowing it. So all of these things about jealousy, about our emotions, we can understand all of this from evolution. Evolution will teach us and teaches us why we are the way we are. And now when you say in heaven, all of these things, there'll be beauty, it doesn't make any sense. None of this makes any sense. What makes more sense to me is if heaven was some sort of like spiritual experience, where you're just hanging out and kind of like being one with God, or whatever, the idea of nirvana. To me, that makes a lot more sense than going shopping at the mall and this.
I mean, yeah. See, Allah predicted shopping mall. Maybe that's why. Okay, so I'll finish this hadith.
Yep.
So the fragrance and clothing consequently will enhance their beauty and loveliness. They will then return to their wives, who will also have increased in their beauty and loveliness. And their families will say to them, "We swear by Allah that you have increased in beauty and loveliness since leaving us." And thereupon they will reply, "We swear by Allah that you have been increased in beauty and love."
Honestly, you know what I would call this? This is brain damage. Like, you look more beautiful. No, you look more beautiful. Yeah. Like, what?
Or maybe it was like something in the market, the perfume they sprayed, it was some like drug or something that makes you things perceive more beautiful when you look at them after. This is such ridiculous low-level moronic nonsense that I sometimes I don't know how people buy this, man. Like,
you know how. It's
just I've been there, done that.
All right. Hey, we have a caller. Confirm Jahannami. Welcome again.
Hello.
Hello. Confirm Jahannami. Can't hear you. Sounds like your microphone's not working. Oh, there we go. Yes, now we can hear you.
Oh, okay. How are you guys?
Good. How are you doing, man?
I'm good.
How's the heat?
The heat.
You want me to pour some water on you?
You can laugh at me from Jannah. The entire heaven idea really turned me off of Islam. First, because I didn't like the idea that. First, I didn't like the idea that I can't be done with it. Like, it's gonna go on forever. Like, it's a party that you can't leave. Like Christopher said, right? It's a party that you can't leave, and that's weird.
Like Islam, man, you join, you can't leave.
Yeah. It's insane. The thing that really started the thought process for me was, well, I never asked to be here. Like, I never asked to be made. I never asked for this test to begin with. So it doesn't seem fair to me that I have to go through this test. Let me just die and be done with it. And every time I ask this question from preachers and my local imam, they would get pissed at me because they didn't have an answer for it. That I don't want to go to heaven. I want to be done with it. And there have been so many times that I've had the opportunity of getting laid, but I was like, nah, I'm gonna go to hell. I'm not gonna do this. I'm gonna avoid this. And now I look back and I'm like, damn it, I should have taken my shot.
Yeah,
so
this is a good point. I mean, it creates an unhealthy relationship with the opposite sex and reduces mating opportunities, frankly speaking, right? And I just want to say that, yeah, I hope that you sound like an ex-Muslim, so I hope your life is going to get better now that you don't have to believe in all this. I'm pretty sure scholars would just say, oh, but in heaven you won't want to end the party. So again, it goes back to the same idea of it's not going to be you anymore, because whatever you want, like if you're gay, you can't be gay in paradise, so you won't be gay anymore.
Well, here's the thing, though. There is a disagreement over the homosexuality because you will get to the boys in paradise.
Well, I'm biased, so that's awesome.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot. But thank you for your call. It was nice talking to you.
Do you have anything else you want to add, or is that
yeah,
that's
you
it?
want to add anything?
No, I wrote something down. Now I've lost it.
Okay, that's fine. Call us if you need
Comment
to. Yeah.
quickly that it is quite interesting that you lost your faith due to reviewing the Islamic conception of
Yeah.
heaven. But most of the people, they go the opposite way. They become more religious because they really, really want those houris, right? But I have realized that it depends on what age bracket you are. If you're a very young adolescent, teenager, you're very, very likely to be impressioned by this stuff. Then let's say you're married and you're 25 and you've had your sex and lost your virginity. You know this is overhyped, this virgin modesty culture. Yeah. So, I mean, honestly, that doesn't, like, to me, it's the whole incentive of having so much sex doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
Yeah.
And one thing you said that eternity, right? Like nobody wants to live forever. Like what's the, like, think about this. Also, what I find weird is you'll be living forever and ever and ever based off of something that is so minuscule in the sense the life of this world, like the blink of an eye. After living for eternity, won't you be like, man, like, can I wish to go back to a simulated Earth? To maybe, can you make that wish? Right, like a simulation. Or maybe you make the wish in Jannah. Allah, I want like a virtual, photorealistic reality to relive my life for a. If you can, you know what I mean, right?
Right.
Yeah, we have a lot of imaginations, and it seems like the idea of heaven definitely doesn't cover it all. But the catch-all, you'll get whatever you want, doesn't even make sense because some things are haram and you can't have that. So I don't know how that works, but
Yeah, like can we have anal sex in Jannah?
see, it's haram. So apparently you'll be purified of having any sort of desires like that, right? That's the claim.
Right. I remember I found the question that I wanted to ask. In Pakistan, there's this imam. His name is Engineer Mirza. So yeah, you might have heard of him.
I've heard of him, yes.
Yeah. So someone asked him that if the same thing that you guys were saying, that what would women get? So he's like, the answer is simple. If a woman desires more men, Allah will make her a man so she can have more women.
Wait, what?
Yeah, he said that if a woman desires more men, Allah will make her a man so she can have more women. She can have women.
That is freaking weird. I know that.
Yeah.
Man, that's some next level mental gymnastics.
That's freaking weird. I don't even think that would appeal to anybody. That's like saying
this is so patriarchal and so male centric that Allah says that if women want something similar, He's not just gonna give it to them. He's gonna flip their gender to the male gender, this implies that the male gender has so much privilege over the
Yeah.
female gender in Allah's eyes that the discrimination follows in not just in this world but into heaven.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, again, I've never heard this before, and neither has Abdul Gondal. So maybe this was his own sort of weird way of dealing with it. Like, I don't know. Like, I've never heard scholars say that. But yeah, that's interesting. Thanks for sharing that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
I'm
Okay,
enjoying today's stream a lot. We're getting so many interesting point of views and things that we've never heard of.
yeah. Hello, Magnets Travel.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are
Good.
you?
How are you doing yourself?
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm from Virginia, just your neighbor.
No.
Yeah. So, are you in Saskatchewan or where?
Sorry, what?
Where
We're
you
in
live?
Canada. We're in Canada.
Oh no, I know. You.
Yeah, no, we
I
don't
know,
talk about where we live on in
Yeah,
public.
no. Sorry,
Okay,
man. We
okay,
can't disclose
That's not
our
appropriate
location.
question, sorry.
Okay. No. I was saying because I've been to many times to Canada, so.
Yeah, okay, but this is
I was.
personal stuff. We don't talk about personal stuff on our channel like that, okay?
Okay.
What's your question?
Yeah. No. No, I don't have a question, but it's I'm watching your channel from I think 2017 or something,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, you were like one of the first I found like ex-Muslim or something. Because before that there was only Hitchens and Dawkins and like these, so they are not more related to Islam, they are more to Christianity and like that. So you were the first one.
Yeah, the first one would
So
probably
I
be
can
Hassan
have more
Radwan,
information about.
Miriam Namazi. There's a bunch that did it before us. Imtiaz Shams, a lot of them are
but for me, you were the first one.
Okay, wonderful.
Thank you so much, man.
Yeah. Thanks for your comment.
I mean, it's a great honor
and
that we put our names side by side.
I know, that's what I was
Dawkins and all these people. You're nowhere near that. But thank you.
I have a one thing, like I haven't seen that anybody talking about that, and because a lot of Muslims they talk about like, oh, science is changing all the time. How can we trust on it and this and that? So my thesis on this is like science is knowledge which is already present in the universe. Anything you talking about science is discovering that thing, and then engineers they take that knowledge and build the things like a plane, like a car or something. They take science is the knowledge of the nature. You discovering that, and then you use that. Engineers use that thing and they make engineer those things.
I apologize, I'm gonna have to cut you off, but we have a lot of other callers and we don't want to talk about science today. Thank you for your call.
Okay.
Bye. Okay, last caller, I promise. And I'm having so much fun with the callers. Hey, Omar.
How's it going?
Hey, bro.
Hello, can you hear me?
Hey. Yes.
Hey, how are you guys?
Wonderful. Great. Thanks for calling in again, man. That clip you did was bit.
To step outside because of
no worries. Yeah, this is Omar bin Al-As of The Other, and I'm going to be on the show on Saturday to have a conversation. I'm not sure what the topic is yet, but yeah, I'll be there. And while we're just waiting, I'm just going to check what slide I'm on. Okay, next one is Giants in Paradise.
Yeah, I just noticed that you guys did not talk about like what men would look like in heaven.
We're about to talk about that.
Yeah, because it's pretty weird. I mean, I'm not into that. Like, if that's what heaven is like, no, I'm not into that.
Yeah, so the first group of people who will enter paradise will be glittering like the full moon, and those who will follow them will glitter like the most brilliant star. I guess we'll be like those that show Glow with the trans and they're all wearing the glitter. I don't know. I'm not sure what this means exactly.
Yeah, but I mean, are you guys aware of the sexual side of it? Not the.
Go ahead, share what you have if you can.
Yeah, I just read a hadith that says that you'll have 70 penises. 70.
What?
70. Yeah, that's a sahih one. It's not like a weak one or anything.
Wow. I have not heard that before.
And they don't bend.
Okay, which book is that? I want to know this one.
It's in Sahih al-Nisa'i. I'll send you the link on the chat.
Oh, yeah, we can show it on screen. Damn.
Now, I don't know if Mohammed knew that, but penises that never bend, that's like a medical condition. It's called preterism. That's not normal and it's painful. And I'm not sure, like, what kind of organism has 70? Where are they placed? Are they coming out of all over your body? Are they hidden inside and you take them out one by one? Why do you need more than one? Are you going to have 6 or 70 at the same time? How does this mean? Like, how is this logical?
It's like those, like God of War video game character with just protrusions out of every limb in his body.
Is that maybe a mistranslation or something? I've never heard this before. This is
no,
weird.
I'll send it to you. It's
okay.
It's true.
Okay.
It's, I'll once I log off the
oh, that's fine.
I
can be on your phone, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is,
yeah, go ahead.
The thing is that if you focus about the other stuff in paradise, it's pretty sad. It's not like they promise them clean water and comfortable couches and drinks that taste like zanjabil and like fancy clothes. It's pretty sad when you think that these were like luxuries, like clean water. It says, well, you'll have clean water. So it's pretty sad to think that they didn't have clean water, so he said, hey, if you follow me and come to heaven, I'll give you clean water, which is like now means nothing to us. So it tells you a lot about the conditions they lived in.
Yeah, so, and it also shows like the social context and how they would the beliefs and the evolution of these ideas, right? You can easily trace them back.
Yeah, and also you talked about how miraculous it is if you talked about stuff that they never heard of. Well, the comeback I heard with it would have made his followers confused. That doesn't work. You can't have it both ways. You have a lot of stuff in the Quran where it says alif lam mim and KHLMNOPQRSTUV. No one knows what that means. No one had any problem with that. So why? Does it have problems, or is that a problem, or is it not a problem? You can't have it both ways.
Yeah. Oh man, I don't know. It's just too much mental gymnastics. Like it's just the comment cracking in the.
Okay, I don't want to take too much of your guys'
Thank you
time.
so much.
Thanks, man.
Thank you. Have a good day, man, and send that the hadith over.
Yeah, send the hadith. We'll show it after. Okay. Before we take the next call, before we get back to the slides, actually, I'm just gonna Gondal, there's questions for you.
Gondal, you're studying neurology and personal stuff. What do you think medical doctors?
Zakir Naik.
Oh. Brother asked a very good question. Where's we need to do a special episode or have him call in and do his Zakir Naik accent.
So next slide is giants in paradise. Yeah, this is a weird, I don't know what to call this fetish of Muhammad. Everyone becomes a giant, and even in hell you become a giant too. We're going to talk about that.
There is a neurological basis to it, where a lot of people who have epilepsy are going to have hallucination. Like you see the man covering the horizon, Angel Gabriel. It's a thing. Just to simplify, images are stretched in their perception sometimes, and then there's also a syndrome called Alice in the Wonderland, where people perceive themselves with necks like 20 feet long. They're not actually that long, but this kind of body dysphoria or this weird perception could have played into it. But then again, there's a mythology of giants that existed prior to it. Like I said, it's just a bunch of things, and this is where I'm speculating, but just one thing.
Yeah, again, it's just weird. Let's just say that.
There'll be combs of gold. Their combs will be of gold. What?
It's an obsession with luxury. What? It's a luxury obsession.
Will smell like musk. The aloes wood will be used in their centers. I don't know what that means. Their wives will be houris, okay? And they'll look like Adam, 60 cubits tall. Does it seem like meeting God is almost an afterthought in the Islamic heaven? Yes, it's mostly about focusing on the other like rivers of heaven, rivers of wine and milk and honey, and obviously the number one spot is.
We're gonna get to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Muhammad loved his musk, eh? Just everything about musk there. It's okay. So
I just want to know what color hair
daddy
they
is
will
gonna be
have. 'Cause
60
if they have
cubits.
combs of gold, will they have black hair, brunettes?
all types. And even this whole thing about Adam being 60 cubits tall. I mean, that's weird. Adam like 60 cubits.
Oh, it's impossible scientifically that because if you make the size of something go up, the insides and the heat is not actually double, but it gets to like a square root of the function.
What
So
about dinosaurs though? What about dinosaurs?
Yeah, so there's a huge like there's a video by Kirsty Gast where he'll explain how bigger animals do that. And also there's a thing where earlier in the Earth's atmosphere, there was a lot more oxygen. So if the organisms were too tiny, they'd die of oxygen poisoning. So therefore, they had to enlarge their size to be efficiently using the oxygen. So therefore, the growth in size. The oxygen dropped, and then also that played into the reduction in size. But there's a huge problem with the heat. If you increase the size of a mouse to the size of a human, it explodes. It will spontaneously combust.
So this is the channel if he's talking about. This is an amazing channel.
Amazing channel. I love his videos. He has a big video of like resizing or something, but he'll explain that in detail.
Absolutely amazing channel, I have to say. Yeah. And okay.
Oh yeah, this is an interesting one. Narrated the messenger of Hugo Boss Ben Musk. I said the messenger of Allah said, "I saw Jafar flying in paradise with the angels." Okay, so we can fly. That's dope. Again, it shows like people were fantasizing about humans not being able to fly back in the day. So obviously they should fly in heaven, but now it loses allure because we can not only fly, we can go to fucking space.
I think the connection too with Jafar was both his hands was cut off.
Okay. Yeah. I did not know that, but that's interesting. So
we have a super chat. Mo was able to predict Attack on Titan anime. So yeah, we'll go to the next slide. Do you want to?
You can do this one.
So, and we will remove whatever's in the breast of the resentment. So they will be brothers on thrones facing each other. So we're gonna be on thrones facing each other. Yeah, boy, you like my throne? You got a throne too? Yeah. And we're just like sitting there facing each other, and we're not gonna be tired. We're just gonna be like sitting there all day. Yeah, boy. Yeah, that's what my kids say. Yeah, boy.
It's such a boring concept. Like, I mean, I'm just thinking about it. How creative Muhammad could have been, possibly, and how the lack of creativity we see here.
If that 70 penises thing is true, that's very creative. I mean, that's like next level creative. Like I've never seen that, but yeah, that's creative.
I've heard about it, but I don't know. But then again, there's a lot of the things. There's a lot of hadith lost in these obscure books like Musannaf ibn Abdul Razzaq, ibn Abi Shayba, Musnad Ahmad, all these big books, right? So they're just being translated. Musnad Ahmad actually 30,000 people. It's just started to be translated on Sunnah.com.
That's
so
true.
A lot of these things, like I said, Omar, he's an Arab, so he can find the sources and read them. We can't because we're relying on translations. So who knows what else crazy stuff about this kind of descriptions lies for it to be shown to the world. All right. That shows Muhammad Islam. Garments of green silk, bracelets, and couches. Well, where's the jeans, man? The leather jeans, the onesies, you know?
So yeah, again, this is probably what Muhammad wanted. So I don't think we have
Muhammad
much.
and the Arabs fantasize about this clothing. And I guess this also makes sense because the people in the empires around them, like especially the Persians, they would have that. And if you notice in the presentation neuroscience, one of the narrations mentions that when Gabriel came to Muhammad in the cave of Hira, he brought a silk cushion with these brocade linings for him to sit on. So that the link to these kind of thoughts is found in Muhammad way before he even claimed prophethood. And it also has a socio-political aspect, like I said, Persians and whatnot. And obviously Salman Farsi could have given him, then he also would receive gifts from people around him. So that would put ideas in his head to get a little imaginative.
Oh, good point. A very good point. What's the point of having two thrones? Isn't the idea you should have one king on one throne? Yeah, that kind of defeats the point. If everybody has a throne, you no longer anything special about it, right?
Yeah.
Couches and thrones. We talk about thrones. We talked about couches. Rivers flowing. Okay. Okay. We went
Also, silk is haram for men in dunya, in this world. They can do it in heaven.
Yes.
Same with gold. And saffron dyed clothes.
And one more comment I want to read. Throne is a symbol of power over someone. What's the point of that in heaven? Exactly. Again,
exactly.
You have these boys serving you. So do you want? I think we might disagree a little bit on this, but go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, I'm not saying anything. The verses don't imply anything sinister per se, but it's just weird that Allah says, "Immortal, handsome boys will be circulating among them eternally, and then they will be giving them drinks and stuff." So in Surah 76, verse 19, they will circulate among them young boys made eternal. When you see them, you would think them as beautiful as scattered pearls. So Allah does emphasize on their beauty. In fact, in 2 verses, in 50 to 24 as well, like boys as servants as if they were pearls well protected, kind of like Allah is protecting the houris in the tents from the jinns and the humans. So it's very interesting why there's these young, beautiful boys giving out. I guess people like beautiful people serving them.
I have an explanation for that. I see it as a sort of thing that he would have seen kings having. You know, if you have a porter, you don't want some like, I don't want to sound mean, some like fat, disheveled porter, like someone that's serving you. You want, like, if you're going to let's say you're going to a good car sales dealership, you go to a dealership and the well-dressed, attractive, salespeople that are serving you. This is how you would expect. Now, I do find that like opponents of Islam tend to use this and imply something sexual about this, but I have not seen any hadith or any sort of way of inferring that this is a sexual thing in paradise. I'm completely against the idea that this is a sexual thing, because I haven't seen any evidence for that. So if someone has evidence, I mean, you can be like, you can sort of imply that if you want.
Yeah.
There's no evidence for that in the actual scripture that this is a sexual thing. Like, if anything, homosexuality is considered like a sin and it's considered like a bad thing.
Then one could ask that if you want to protect and be celibate in your life, then when you get to Jannah, can you ask Allah as the wish, or that Allah will take the homosexual tendencies out of your brain and you only like desire straight people?
That's the thing. You're not going to be you. Whatever you are now in paradise, you'll be a zombie version of yourself that doesn't love your family members anymore if they're in hell. You don't care about anything except apparently having eternal elections 24/7. And I don't know, man. It's
weird.
I think it's so stupid. Take a couple more slides and we'll take some calls, because there's a couple.
And the next slide, I think I added details about who these heavenly young boys are. So I just want to quickly skim through some of them, just so people know, because they have some similarities with houris in terms of their creation, which is quite interesting. So it says from Ali ibn Talib and Hassan al-Basri that these are the children of the Muslims who died in infancy and have no good or bad deeds on their records. So they will automatically be entered into heaven, but they'll just be eternally serving the people who actually did the good deeds. So in essence, Allah created these kids just to be servants in heaven, knowing that they will die at a young age. It's quite weird with the whole, just doesn't sound right with free will. Salman said that the children of the mushrikeens are the servant of the people of paradise. Now this is even weirder, because now it seems that taking the boys as servants is a punishment upon the boys, or at least it seems like an emotional punishment on the people, like in hell. For example, if I'm in hell and I see my boy being used as a servant to serve the people I was against, it kind of looks, and then the whole idea of showing people of heaven and hell, them looking at each other, it could be that, just a pun or like a provocative thing by Allah, another form of emotional trauma for the people in hell. And then he says they have no good deeds, so that's why they're put in this situation. But then again, in other hadith, it says that Allah doesn't admit people to Jannah because of their deeds, but because of His mercy.
So again, just to be clear, it like a lot of the scholars are saying there's no basis for this opinion. So this is one opinion, which is a weird opinion, but it's in the text. But it's just a lot of scholars disagree with this. So this is not the consensus. The main consensus is, the main idea is these are a special creation, kind of like houris. They're basically servant boys that are made to serve you.
Yeah, it's interesting though. Here it says by Ibn Taymiyyah, he was asked about this, and he says the boys will go around among the people of paradise who are created for paradise. So they were created for paradise. They're not from before. They're not the children people of this world. So they're kind of like houris. Rather, if the children of this world enter paradise, they will be given a perfect form like the other people of paradise in the form of Adam. Okay. But then Ibn Qayyim says, it is most likely that these boys will be created from paradise, like Al-Hur al-Ain, as servants for them. They're not their children. By Allah's grace, He will cause their children to be served alongside them, not to become servants to them. Like I was mentioning earlier, it doesn't make sense, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, it's just to show that the origins of these boys is very conflicting and vague.
I want to say that, again, this is a common attack made by certain types of people, and the type of people like Christian Prince. And I just want to make it clear that when you do this, you are creating a straw man of Islam. When you are saying that this is a sexual thing, no Muslim is ever taught this. Okay. No Muslim, no scholar. Like, look at like Abdullah Gondal added this slide from Islam Kuwait.
Just to clarify,
where does it say on Islam Kuwait this is sexual? Where did any Muslim scholar, like, if you're gonna make up Islam and then think you're so cool that you defeated it, you haven't defeated anything. You defeated a straw man, and the Muslims are laughing at you because you've just changed the religion into something you wanted. You made a straw. I mean, that's why it's called a straw man. Like, let's represent Islam for what it is, and then attack that if you want to attack it.
Like I said, I have never heard this being misconstrued as homosexuality ever. The only time I have heard it, like you said, is Christian apologetic sites that are like, I'm not gonna name any site, but just.
Actually, it's in the comments that I was asking, where's this? Apparently it says the boys don't bleed, and I said, okay, well, where's the hadith? And Black Angel said CP showed it, and the DCCI ministries team confronted hijab with it on Speaker's Corner. So I'm, like any other religion, there's very obscure, weird things you can find, and it doesn't mean that's what is actually. That's not.
We're already showing enough sexual things from elsewhere. There's no ulterior motive for us to hide this specific word. We're just actually being like, no, this one is wrong. There's enough you can choose from elsewhere.
Exactly. There's enough content that's mainstream, that's agreed upon. You don't need to make up shit. You know what I mean? Like, you don't need to dig in, whatever, 1,000-year-old books to find some strange, weird opinions and then present that as if it's mainstream, right? And it's not. I mean, if you want to say this is a weird, obscure opinion, that's fine. But it's presented as if this is what Muslims believe. Like, you know what I mean? Okay, Wu goes to paradise. Rant over.
All right, let's get into it.
Let's take a couple calls before we.
Let's take a few calls.
I'm gonna try to do this in order. I'm trying to remember who called first because StreamYard doesn't necessarily keep the order. Hello, Divin Wajis.
Oh, hi guys. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Oh, good job, guys. I was just wondering, what age do the Islamic people teach this in school for the kids?
If you're an Arab and you speak Arabic as you're growing up, you will be exposed to this at the age of 3, 4, as soon as you start learning or are able to recite the Quran. Whereas these verses are recited daily, and like the verse about about the women having perky or brown, well-proportioned breasts. I mean, if you are making a 5-year-old memorize the Quran, yes, he's going to memorize that verse, and he's going to memorize the verse about the big eyes and the tents and everything. So, I mean, it's not something that people shy away from, in fact. But let's just say that parents wouldn't go out of their way to take their 10-year-old child to the mosque for a special khutbah on houris. They wouldn't do that, okay? But you will see that they will be exposed to this in a form, in one way or another. For example, if I'm sitting watching Maulana Tariq Jameel in Pakistan, and I'm watching an hour-long lecture, and 20 minutes this guy spends describing the houris, and my kid's sitting there. Yeah, okay, if it plays, he'll get exposed to it in that way. I've seen this happen a lot. It's morally indirect, but people don't go out of their way to take their 5-10-year-old, like, hey, you're gonna get houris and stuff. Now they start telling them about, especially when they hit adolescence, is when it happens. I have also seen halaqas that are private, brothers only, sisters only, to discuss these things. And there's special ones for that specific age group as well.
Okay, okay, I understand. Like a filtered version or censored version. I understand what you mean. And the reason why I asked this is because when I read the comments of people, when all this what do you call all this notion against Islam, they command that, okay, see you in heaven. I mean, see you in heaven, or you'll be questioned in hell. So even when people get really old, they still have this. I was saying that people have this strong foundation that there is a hell, there is a heaven. So I was thinking that this was taught like from a very young age, so it's so fixed into them. Even people like quite older people still say that. So even it doesn't make any sense. I mean, I don't know why they still hold on to that.
Oh yeah, no. It's like I said, humans will hold on to their traditions, and they're reluctant to change most of the time. Like that's just our nature. And especially like a lot of this plays into indoctrination, right? Like if you can indoctrinate people into the idea, especially that the Quran is the word of God, then anything that follows from the Quran or Hadith will be accepted by most. So there's a lot of indoctrination that plays into it. It doesn't make sense, like you said. A lot of the time, what's interesting is most of these ideas have existed already. Lectures about these houris and stuff. They'll be more frequent in countries like Pakistan or Middle East, Saudi and whatnot, because the society is created like that.
Okay, cool.
Whereas
Okay.
you don't see the same frequency of these subjects being discussed in the West, because sexual or like men aren't frustrated for sex as much. So there's one thing that happens too, but then again, you can also counter that by saying, well, Muslim men are allowed like 4 wives and whatnot,
It's
and
not the
sex
same, right?
slaves. Yeah, so.
Okay, yeah, good job, guys. I mean, yeah, that was my question, and I believe that to fight an idea is to criticize it and ridicule it with stronger what do you call it, a rational against it. So good job, guys.
Thank you so much for your kind comment. Have a good day.
All right. I just want to say to those of you who are enjoying the stream, and for those of you who have subscribed to the channel, thank you so much. Please do consider supporting the show. We have a special PayPal link that's created just for this. And as well, you can also join the channel. You can also do super chats. All of that will be appreciated as well. And, to compensate us for some of the time, energy, and resources and services that we need to do to put this stuff together. So please do consider doing that. And if you can't afford it, we understand. That's okay. We're going to keep doing this anyways. But if you want to help out, if you want to give back in some way or show your gratitude, this is one way you can do so. As well, you can continue to share the video, send it to others, and help us to keep getting the views up. Because today, I think, is the most popular stream so far. We have 270 or so people watching right now, which is pretty big. And I think it's just going to continue growing from here. All right, so we're going to should we take another call?
I just wanted to say one thing, because I was just reading the comments, and a lot of people are saying that Muhammad had homosexual leanings or tendencies because he would kiss his grandsons and suck their tongue. Now, on the face of it, this looks weird, but in fact, if you were to look into it, this was a common practice amongst the Arabs because water was scarce. So soothing your young ones by giving saliva from your mouth was normal. Like I said, that's one example to show you that you can, if you don't know the history, you can end up connecting ideas that don't necessarily connect, right? So like somebody was writing in the comments that, oh, CP can show you a hadith that Muhammad is licking his grandsons or something. And that's not why he was doing it. That's the
Yeah.
thing. There's a lot of historical nuance required for this, right?
You tend to find all of these arguments are put together by the same people. These people, like, even like weirder shit than that I've heard, like
Yeah.
like
All right.
Muhammad going into graves, and like it's just why
necrophilia and whatnot. Yeah, they come up with
exactly.
weird stuff,
You know,
yeah.
like I don't know.
Like,
It's
I just think of one more. Like I read one where it was just very absurd. Muhammad's auntie died, and he lowered her in the grave, and the word was used was like I laid her in the grave, but the way it was used, it sounded like he laid in the grave. So Muslims, these apologists from Christianity said, "Oh, Muhammad loves having sex with his dead auntie." I have heard this level of absurdity, man. So,
and you know, like this level of absurdity is not helping a cause. It's so easy to debunk these things that like you just look like a. Anyways, sorry, I'm very passionate.
Let's stop digressing. Stick to the presentation.
Okay. I don't know, more calls or take the slides. What do you say?
Let's take a few slides.
Okay.
And then a few calls.
All right. Who goes to paradise? Only Muslims will go to paradise. Messenger of Allah said he was last words of La ilaha illallah will go to paradise. Now, does that mean all you need to do is say La ilaha illallah and you'll go to paradise and you don't need to do anything? No. The scholars have explained that what this means is whoever says La ilaha illallah will eventually go to paradise. Muslims will be taken from hell and put in paradise. So if you have bad deeds, enough bad deeds to go to hell, your scale is messed up, and the bad deeds is heavier. What'll happen is that you'll be taken from the hellfire, like by Muhammad's intercession, and you know Muhammad's saying whatever, or Allah is saying in this case, remove from the fire anyone who had good in his heart equal to the weight of a grain of barley, blah blah blah. And eventually according to the Sunni theology, all Muslims will be removed from hell, whether you're in there for 5 years, 10 years, 1,000 years, but the non-Muslims will stay in hell forever. According to a minority opinion, non-Muslims will eventually be destroyed in hell, but according to a majority opinion, the Quran says you will ask for death. No, ask for 10. Anyways, we're not talking about hell right now, but the point is non-Muslims don't go to heaven ever. Only Muslims go to heaven, and that includes believers in Jesus and Moses and all of those people at the time when their prophet was there. From now on, if you know about Muhammad and you reject him, you do not go to paradise. You go to hell. You want to add anything to that?
No, I was actually just going to add the last bit you said about the prophets and people before Muhammad.
Yes. Yeah, because we want to be fair. We're not saying everyone before hell.
Yeah. This is interesting. Now, what also ends up happening is on the Day of Judgment, there will be a Muslim and he's about to go into hell because he's got a lot of bad deeds. Allah will be like, here you go. You know what I'll do? I'll just give you a Jew or a Christian or a polytheist and put them in hell for your side and save you and put you in heaven. So what it says is in Abu Burda reported on the authority of his father that Allah's messenger said, no Muslim would die, but Allah would admit in his stead a Jew or a Christian in hellfire. Umar bin Abdulaziz took an oath by one besides whom there is no God but he, thrice that his father had narrated that to him from Messenger of Allah. On the right side it says, on the day of resurrection, Allah will deliver to every Muslim a Jew or a Christian and say, this is your ransom from hellfire.
It's very strange.
This is very strange. Like, and I was talking about earlier, like this is the thing. A lot of the time the Quran will say your deeds and the scale, but then they'll also say that nobody actually goes in the hadith because of the deeds, it's because of the mercy of Allah.
Yeah.
So it's this weird theology that keeps conflicting.
Yeah, so basically the way it works is you have to believe. That's the most important thing of all, because even belief by itself will take you to paradise eventually. That's the most important thing. The idea you have in your head that God is one and Muhammad is the last messenger is the most important thing in the world, apparently. Then on top of it, you do good deeds, but it's not like it's good deeds plus Allah accepting those good deeds. So basically it's not the good deeds are not sort of standalone. God has to accept them as well. So that's kind of the idea.
So basically if a Muslim committed like let's say rape or something really bad, he can go roast in hell, but then he will eventually go to paradise. But if it's a non-Muslim who did nothing of the sort, was the most pious upright sin, but he just didn't believe in Allah, he'll roast in hell forever.
You know what? I can't wait to talk about hell because there's a lot of absurdities there as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is a juicy bit. So
we've talked about this to death. Like
Yeah. We'll
come
quickly go
on,
over
guys,
it.
if you're underage, is a tent in paradise like a hollow pearl, which is 30 miles in height. So I guess because
Wow.
tent, so now he wants a bigger tent. I guess he didn't think about like modern construction. I don't know. And on every corner of the tent, so the tent is a square or a triangle tent or whatever. It has corners. It's not a round tent. The believer will have a family that cannot be seen by the others. So you have multiple families in each corner of your tent. Like,
Like, this is so weird.
it's weird,
Hollow
weird,
pearl.
weird.
Oh, this one's interesting. So the prophet said the first batch of people who will enter paradise will be glittering like the full moon. Next batch like the star. We talked about this. Their hearts will be as if the heart of a single man, for they will have neither enmity nor jealousy amongst themselves. Everyone will have two wives from the houris. So you'll minimum two wives who will be so beautiful, pure, and transparent. The marrow of the bones of their legs will be seen through the bones and flesh. Now, I don't understand what the hell did I just read. We have transparent virgins whose blood vessels, bone marrow, nerves, like, how is it? Is this beautiful? I don't know if it's beautiful or not. I just don't know what to say.
Like I've struggled to understand this. Maybe we should ask like Sean Anthony or someone like that if he understands. He might be able to help us to make sense of this because it doesn't make any sense.
Historical backdrop, yeah.
There must be some historical backdrop or cultural context here that we're missing because this isn't what we consider attractive.
Yeah, like maybe it could be that pure transparentness, might be the whiteness of their skin.
It's weird, man.
Okay, it's just weird.
Okay, I think we kind of talked about this, so
it's just like they will open their veil, and then the whole world will be full of fragrance, and their nur will overpower all the light in the heavens and the earth, and basically, perfume virgins emitting heavenly light. So we've already talked about this.
Yeah.
This is interesting. The power of 100 porn stars. So we talked about this too, and the two scholars mentioned it twice, I think. The believer shall be given in paradise such and such strength and intercourse. It was said, O Messenger, will he be able to do that? He said, he'll be given the strength of 100 men. There are obviously more narrations. I just showed you one. I think this is from Riyadh al-Salihin. If not, I will get you, because I forgot I put the book name in there.
That's fine. It doesn't matter. It's
frequently reported.
This is like common stuff, yeah.
Yeah, but this is just to show you that we're not making this up. That Tafsir al-Jalalain says about Surah 36, in the specific verse, Inna ashab al-jannat al-yawma fi shughlin fakihun, that people in heaven will be just having fun or be enjoying themselves, right? So he goes on to say that in pleasure so indeed today the inhabitants of paradise are busy delighting in pleasures such as deflowering virgins, not busy with anything wearisome, as there is no toil in paradise. So when they're doing the deflowering, apparently it doesn't fatigue them, like you said. Rejoicing blissfully. Okay. And then on the bottom part, now this is an interesting tafsir I just want to know about this verse, that this isn't just one tafsir. Ibn Mas'ud and Ibn Abbas said, and Sayyid ibn Musayyib, Ikram al-Hasan, Qatada, al-Ma'amash, Sulaiman, al-Uza,
Al-Taymi.
Yeah, they all said they'll be busy deflowering virgins. Ibn Abbas said the correct word, and he goes out to the busy and joyful things. He says it does not mean listening to stringed instruments. And he's affirming that whoever says otherwise is wrong, and the only correct interpretation is deflowering virgins. Okay.
That's so weird.
So bizarre. This is so ridiculous.
Okay, this is now we're gonna get to what do women get. You guys ready for this? What? There's nothing?
No, okay.
Okay, let's take some calls. We've shown what men get, and we'll get to what women get. And it's not.
We just left a blank slide. So there are more slides to follow.
Yeah. Hello, Anon.
Hello.
Yes. Hello.
Oh, sorry, I was surprised. Okay. I didn't know it was my turn. So hold on. All right. Hello.
Yes, go ahead. What's the question or comment?
I'm an ex. I guess I'm an ex-Muslim, and I just wanted to ask, when you guys were little, were you taught to perceive Muhammad as this the most how to say were you taught to perceive Muhammad as this guy that is the most positive for human mankind? That's my first question.
Yes, of course. Yeah, the best of mankind, the seal of the
Yeah.
prophets, the
Okay.
leader of the prophets, and the Sayyid, the most
Yeah.
perfect. Khuluqul Azim. Yes, all of that. Good stuff.
Yeah. So, and then next one. I think I can see this pattern where these guys will always try to argue that the scriptures, the hadith that you guys are using is not authentic, I guess. But okay, I how to say okay, how are you guys sure that those hadiths are authentic?
Okay, I'll take
Because I'm
question.
sorry.
For the authenticity, firstly, like I said, I myself do not see the Islamic hadith sciences as on its own adequate to decipher what was real and what wasn't in those narrations. Academics know this. They have actually devised better methodologies of verifying the text with the chain and whatnot. And also, academia does not take oral transmission with the same authority that it's perceived in Sunni Islam. So one thing that. Secondly, to authenticity of our content. Normally, what we like to do, we like to show the screenshots or leave the link with the opinion on the hadith. Like if this hadith is sahih, if this is weak, if this is not, we point that out. Also to note that da'if hadith can't be used generally for making legal things, but they can be used to show benefits or fadail amal kind of thing. What is also interesting is da'if hadith can be used to supplement other sahih hadith as well. When we do that, we let them know. So the thing is, the content is mostly designed for Sunni Orthodox Muslim, keeping in mind their belief and their dogmatic ideas about the hadith or Bukhari Muslim are authentic, 100%. Imam Malik's Muwatta is considered authentic, so is some people consider Muslim Abu Bakr. Bunch of books. So we're just working on that framework. Do we necessarily agree with that framework? No. Are we bound to just cherry pick the hadith that agree with the Muslim framework? No, academics don't do that either.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my answer to this question.
Yeah, all of the hadith we found in this can be found on sunnah.com, which is a Sunni website. We didn't, and the Islam QA links is a Salafi website as well. So you're most welcome to confirm those links. We're going to share the slides at the end. Once the show is done, I'll post it on Facebook and Twitter after the show is done. I don't want people in the while we're presenting. So, but once we're done, you can download the slides. You can search all those hadith for yourself.
Yeah. So it's up to the observer, right?
Sorry. Well, we put the references, right? Like,
yeah, the references are there.
Like if you look,
I'm sorry for
right here. For example, Hassan, Volume 4, Book 12, Sahih Bukhari 6567. Great Sahih Jami at-Tirmidhi 1651, Sahih Bukhari. Like every single one of these has a reference.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just trying to understand how you guys get this kind of reference, because usually all Islamic children won't have this kind of.
How do we unearth this weird information?
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's a lot of resources. If you can go and search apologetic websites, and you'll find both sides of the coin. There could be Wiki Islam, to Answering Islam, to Answering Christianity, to Yaqeen Institute. So go check all sides. You can find a lot of resources just from viewing what kind of apologetics have already taken place. Then you can always obviously just go to the search bar on sunnah.com and write something, and the hadith will just pop
Well,
up.
the way we find it is we know these from like living as Muslims. Like I didn't have to like the reason me and Gondal are able to find so many relevant things. It's not, we don't search sex in Islam or something like religion or something, and we go through like pages. It would take forever. The reason we know these things because we've heard them as Muslims. Like all of these things we've heard about them, and we talk about this stuff a lot, so we have familiarity with the content. Of course, the difference between us and someone who's just looking and doesn't know Islam and maybe is like, let's say, a Christian, is they'll be looking. Now again, not all Christians are the same, Christian apologists. For example, David Wood, I think he knows Islam better than most Muslims, right? I do think for the most part, he does a pretty good job in representing Islam according to the actual texts, right? And so that's the difference. Not everybody's like him. Some people are really twisting and kind of, not really presenting Islam the way that Muslims believe in it, which I think is very important to do. But we've lived it. We know that we're trying to use content that actual Islamic scholars would like. A Muslim can watch this and say, you said nothing wrong. That's what we want. At the end of the day, we want a Muslim to watch this and say, yeah, I agree with every single thing you said. I don't agree like that you guys are laughing at it or whatever, but every single thing you said is proper Islam. You're not making up stuff. You're actually representing Islam for what it is.
Also, just another nuanced thing, and just to add a tidbit there, that there are differences of opinion amongst Muslim schools of thought as well. And we also acknowledge that when we do put it out, like sometimes if we're discussing apostasy, for example, I will let you know that the Hanafis view it certain differently in certain matters, or the Shafis have certain differences. For example, one school of thought will say the blasphemer's repentance is just not acceptable. You have to kill him. Whereas the other will say, oh, if the blasphemer is a non-Muslim and he actually repents or accepts Islam, Allah says all his deeds change to good deeds, so you don't kill him, right? There's a lot of these weird trickeries in the fiqh and all sorts of that. Thousands of books are written.
That's I think that's how I kind of realized there's maybe different variations, or Islam is not a complete as you
no,
as
it's
they
not
say,
a
right?
monolith. For example, I'll be very, very honest with you. The problem occurs is how people perceive religion. Is religion defined as how it was found and practiced by its originating source? Or scholars will define religion, because the people that practice religion are dead. It doesn't affect them anymore. The functionality and functional progression of religion, because religion on its essence is a tool for people who are alive and how it directs their lives. Then you can define their religion as how the believers follow it, right? So there's the academic idea of that. So the idea that Muslims can create their own version of Islam and keep interpreting it is quite valid outside of the Sunni framework, where you don't have to hold on to the Quran and Sunnah only, right? So, like, there's a lot more to it, but I think that was a good question.
That sounds. But can I ask a little question?
Okay.
Okay. So, right now, this moment, I'm kind of a fear even trying to ask this kind of questions. Right? How do you guys get to overcome those kind of fears when you try to question your belief?
It takes a while. I mean, honestly, being indoctrinated for 19, 20 years, 22 years of my life for myself, it was hard. It's not easy. I mean, when you come realize that your whole worldview and you've been lied to your whole life and that it makes no sense, and it's so absurd that you're kind of also mad at yourself. How did you end up believing such nonsense? Eventually, it's a long struggle. There's a lot of emotional undoing. In fact, a lot of people go through a lot of trauma because they leave religion. There's actually a post-traumatic religious syndrome as well, studied in psychology. A lot of cult survivors go through that. So it's a deep topic, but yeah, we have to keep our chin up, and like, I don't want to go into details of my personal ways I keep the stress away, but I just positive thoughts, positive thinking, being optimistic and less pessimistic.
I think just to add to that, as time goes by, you will feel more comfortable with it. You don't have to leave Islam in a day. Okay, you don't have to. I had a very close friend he's become a close friend of mine who's Muslim, and Abdul Gondal, that's the guy I wanted to talk to you. And basically, he's been having a struggle with leaving Islam. He knows a lot of things don't make sense in Islam, and he's kind of in the middle. He's been in the middle for a long time now. And I told him, like, he's like, I don't even know how to live my life. He's Somali, he's deep in the community, and everybody in his life is Muslim, and everything in it, all of the cultural markers, cultural references, everything is Islam. And he's like, I don't even know how to raise my kids. I don't know how to do anything without Islam. And I'm like, that's okay. You can keep doing those things that And just as things come up, as you learn, you can change them. You don't have to stick to Islam anymore. So for example, if the Quran says breastfeed your child for 2 years and your wife is breastfeeding, there's nothing wrong with that. You can keep doing that. And then when you get to the point where, let's say, you get some new information, you say, well, I don't need to do this anymore, then you can change it. You don't have to leave Islam in a day. Just take the time. I have another friend who is a photographer, and he left Islam, and he had a lot of trauma as well. And it took him 1 to 2 years, or maybe 3 years, to get over the trauma and to accept there's no God, there's no hereafter, that this is all there is. And there are organizations like Recovering from Religion. I've invited 2 people from them, both Gail and Eric Wells were both members of, both staff at Recovering from Religion. They do this for free. They have calls. You can call in, you can talk to them. Of course, it's more Christian sort of focus, but like they get ex-Muslims call them too. They get people that are from all over the world call and talk to them, and get support and help you through the struggle. So I think that's what I would suggest, is just take it easy. You don't have to rush or leave Islam or anything.
Yeah.
I hope that answers the question.
Thanks a lot, guys. You guys are doing an amazing job, to be honest.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Have a good day. Stay safe.
Have a good day.
Bye. Okay. I kind of want to get to the slides, but we have a couple more callers. What should we do?
Okay, we can get the calls, and then we can stream for the slides later. Yeah.
Hello, Kaldara Ranjit Singh.
Hello.
Thanks, sir. Hello, thanks.
How are you?
Sir, I would like to, whatever has been imagined in Islam or even say Middle Eastern religions as a heaven, that already exists in all India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Nepal, Sri Lanka, or you may say currently SAARC Confederation countries, South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation countries. Here you may say apples, mangoes, grapes, rivers, large gardens, large women, large men, even freedom to marry any type of woman or any type of man as per your qualification. Don't you think that Eastern religion, Buddhism, Vedicism, Buddhism, Sikhism, Hinduism, or even a theist version of Hinduism, that is Charvak Panth, they are better than the Middle Eastern religions of the past? Your take, Mr. Abdullah.
Okay. I'll go first. So the question is, don't you feel that Eastern religions are better than Islam and Abrahamic religions? Gondal, you can answer.
Abrahamic religion, exactly.
It depends on, it's a very wide question, right? Like, what do you mean by Islam? Like, which Islam? Are you talking about the Islam of ISIS? Are you talking about the Sufi Islam? Right? There is a whole spectrum of what is Islam. Then you can
Sufi Islam I take as an Indic religion. Sufi Islam is just like Bangladesh, India, Pakistan. That is Indic religion.
Okay, so like Wahhabism is what he's asking about.
Okay.
Exactly.
So for Wahhabism, yes, it is a very dangerous ideology. But then again, I wouldn't want to put a label on which religion is necessarily worse than the other one, because it also is very dependent on how the believers perceive it to be, right? But I would say that definitely the Quran does lean towards a lot of absurdities. But then again, when I do read the Bible and the Hindu scriptures, I do see a lot of those absurdities. So then I can ask myself, okay, is this really the lack of knowledge and social growth showing up in people, or is it actually the direct contribution of religion? And then also becomes a cycle. The religion is created by these same people, right? So again, I wouldn't say that any religion is per se better or worse than the other, because you have to define functionally what aspect you want to analyze. Like, if you want to say, is Islam more conducive to human rights versus Hinduism? Right? Is that even a question worth asking? Because you can make arguments.
No. My take is Pakistani, Bangladeshi or Indian Islam is better than Saudi Arabian Islam. Pakistani democracy is better than Iran or Saudi Arabia. though it may be worse than England or UK, European Union or America or even India. India is better than Bangladesh and Bangladesh is better than Pakistan. That is my take.
So I'll just add a little bit to that, and yeah, there's definitely better than worse forms of Islam, and yeah, definitely the Sufi ones tend to be better. Yeah, I do think you do need to objectify what you mean by better or worse if it comes to whether it's women's rights, human rights. I do think that there's a lot of absurdity and ridiculousness in Hinduism as well, and I don't know, maybe Sikhism too. I don't know anything about Sikhism.
No, I don't deny that.
Yeah. What I do want to say is that I do find some things in Eastern religions to be quite beautiful. For example, the idea, I mean, some of the things are ridiculous. For example, karma. I don't think there's any such thing as karma. I think that evil people, like whatever you want to define as evil, let's say like, you know, people that like Hitler, for example, there's no karma for Hitler. He did all of those things. He had a screwed up brain. He killed so many people and did all these things, and yet nothing happened to him. He just killed himself. So there's no real karma. There's no reincarnation. I think that's a ridiculous concept as well. I do like the idea of not eating meat. I do like the idea of mindfulness and you know, meditation. I do like the idea of not doing things for the hereafter, but just doing things for the sake of, you know, being at peace with yourself and accept reality for what it is. And I think those things can be taken out of the Eastern religions without all of the dogma. So, you know, in order to meditate, in order to be mindful, you don't need to believe in any dogma. You don't need to believe in reincarnation, in karma, in hereafter, heaven and hell. You can just do it. Meditation is just about sitting there and just accepting reality, being, you know, becoming aware of your thoughts and as they appear in your head. So I think that part of it is good. And that's all I have to say.
My motto, or at least I'd say, is take the good, leave the bad. Because at the end of the day, religions are an amalgamation of human ideas. Some ideas are good, some are bad, and you'll find both sides in all sorts of religions. Islam has some good ideas too, like feeding the poor, and the zakat idea is very good, right? But then there's also some very bad idea, like the misogyny and the stoning people to death and chopping people's hands off for theft. Same with the Hinduism, right? Like some things are good in Hinduism, but then you have classism and then practices like sati and whatnot, depending on what type of Hinduism you subscribe to, given that. Exactly the point, right? So again, like I said, with Buddhism, I find it beautiful, like the exercise of the mind. In fact, if you were to read Buddhist literature from the contemporary time period when Muhammad was in Arabia, Buddhism was miles ahead. They were actually onto something. Like if anything makes sense from that contemporary period as Buddhism, I'd go with that. But like I said, yeah, there's a lot of, and also what happens is back in the day, most religions grew up and evolved in isolated pockets of the world because communication and exposure of ideas was not as common. So that's why you see that all the Middle Eastern religions like Muhammad, Islam, all the stories are in the Middle Eastern zone, like Jerusalem, Jordan, Syria, and Arabia, and that's it. Allah sent all the prophets there. All the action happens here. But if you go on another continent, to the Aztec Empire, they have a completely different set of ideas and mythology, and their trajectory is different. So now we live in a world where these ideas are being shared rapidly, and you can cross-check religious ideas in an instant. So now we're getting to analyze them and compare them, which wasn't possible before. So that's why we're coming to ask these questions. And I think the question is inherently flawed in the way that we shouldn't label a religion as good or bad in totality, but we should be able to recognize inside of it the ideas that are good and bad and take those and leave the bad. That's my opinion on it. I hope
Thank you for your call. We have to obviously.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Changaji.
Rasika. Bye.
That's it.
So I'm just going to add one more thing, that even with Buddhism, there's dogma, and some of the dogma is really dumb. The idea of, you know, becoming reaching nirvana.
Yeah.
And, you know, I mean, that's obviously unfalsifiable, and we can't prove it. Last caller. Hello, Marcus. Hello, welcome again.
Hello.
Yes, hi.
Hi guys. I'm from Indonesia. Hello. Can you hear me?
We can hear
you.
you.
We can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. I'm not a Muslim, but I'm an atheist. But most of my friends and a lot of my families are Muslim, so I'm very familiar with most of the Muslim concepts. However, Actually, I heard about this topic before in the Aronra show, in the Aronra show about the Muslims' paradise. And when I talk to many of my Muslim friends in Indonesia that doesn't speak Arabic, they never heard about it before. So my question is for Abdullah Samer, because you don't speak Arabic, right? When you grow up as a Muslim in Canada, are you aware of the most of the details about the Islamic heaven? And if you do aware, what was your perspective from the Muslim point of view at the time? Because it's so ridiculous.
Yeah, I think this is something that a lot of non-Muslims have an atheist and never what we call never Mus. So we say ex-Mus, ex-Muslims, and then we say never Mus as someone that was never a Muslim. And I find that people have a hard time understanding how is it that people can believe such absurdities. Abdullah Gondal, can you just explain how is it that we believed in flying donkeys? I mean, it's not actually a flying donkey, but why is it we believed all these things?
I mean, there's a lot of the psychological aspect, like we were talking about earlier, that people will want to believe emotionally or feel good ideas rather than facts. So, for example, and this ties back down to egocentrism and human exceptionalism, where we are important. We imagine ourselves to be important. So, therefore, when we die, we want to go somewhere. We just don't want to end. We think that we will go to heaven and whatnot. We want to live on. It's a continuation of our psychological need to keep living. I would simplify this to that. We did talk about this in a lot more detail earlier, but you can refer to this as in regards to religiosity and conviction. Like, how can people believe this, and how do most people know about this? Again, it depends on your religiosity. If you're living in Canada or in any country that is not Arab and you're not an Arab speaker, if you're religious enough, you will end up reading their translation and you will get that general idea of it. But most Muslims, like you said, in fact, never read their Quran with translation. Most don't. Most don't care. Most don't pray, right? So will these people really care about heaven and hell? No, they won't even know about half of the stuff. So like I said, there's a lot of difference in your own personal views and religion that dictate how much you end up learning about it. Yeah, that's from my side.
Okay, yeah. Honestly, I think we don't really have time to get into this, but I do think we just have to realize that we've evolved to be religious. I'm just gonna say it like that. And we just believe what we're taught as kids. That's another problem. And I don't know. If we had more time, I would get into it more. But the reality is that people just don't question these things. They just take it for granted because they were taught it as a kid while they were really young. And everyone around them believes, and that's why in more mixed countries, like if you're in Saudi Arabia, you're even more likely to just be a believer. But if you're in, like, for example, Canada or America or whatever, you have a mix of different beliefs, and then you're exposed to different ideas, and then you have to challenge your own ideas. So that's all I have to say about that. I just want to say thank you to Exodus 21v20. He's a supporter.
Thank you so much.
He supports me monthly as well on online, and thank you for the donation for the show. Much appreciated. And thank you, Marcus, for the call and for the question. And we do have to get back to the slides because we're out of time now.
We'll go through them.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
I just want to share one thing before I share that. I got an email from Omar about what he was saying. And I don't have a reference for it, unfortunately, in Arabic. And unfortunately, Sunnah.com doesn't have the 39th book of Sunan Ibn Majah. But it says, everyone will be married to 72 wives. 2 of them are houris and 70 of what? Anyways, all of them will have libidinous sex organs and will have ever erect penis. So this is what he was saying, 72 penises. I don't know if that's a correct translation or if that's a correct hadith, but I couldn't find the 72 penises.
Wow, I just see that. I just something I just noticed in here was on the 4th one down when it says Al-Itqan fil Ulum al-Quran. This is Jalaluddin al-Suyuti. He's a giant scholar.
Yes.
He wrote one of the biggest works on the Quranic sciences. And he says, each time we sleep with a huri, we find her virgin.
Yeah.
Besides, the penis of elected never softens. Erection is eternal. What the frick? So we have eternal boners running around. The sensation that you feel each time you make love is utterly delicious and out of this world. And were you to experience it in this world, you would faint. each chosen one, i.e. Muslim, will marry 70 houris, besides the women he married on earth, and all will have appetizing vaginas. Seriously, man, these are Islamic scholars. This is the guy who wrote just Al-Jalalain and his student, the Tafsir Al-Jalalain.
And again, like, we're not saying that human beings don't have sexual desires and that this is some, like, these are normal. I mean, these are like super emphasized normal ideas. So for example, a man would love to have sex. We know that's a normal, natural thing. Women would love to have sex too, but apparently women are just kind of ignored basically. Did we read a single thing so far about women? Like
women's sexuality, women's sexual pleasures in Jannah? None yet so far.
Nothing at all about women's sexual pleasure. It's just not considered important to Muhammad. And again, this has to do with the fact that he wanted warriors to fight and die for him. You know, that's my opinion anyways.
Yeah.
We're not saying there's anything wrong with having sexual desires. We're not saying there's anything wrong with any of that. It's just such an absurd, materialistic, superficial way of presenting paradise. That's all. That's basically what we're saying, right?
Right.
Okay, back to this slide.
Yeah, let's go through them fast. Okay, majority of women don't go to paradise. This actually is a
I missed one. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, so birth to designer babies in only an hour. Earlier we were talking about that people won't give birth in heaven, but actually that's not the case. Again, there's another conflict here. It was narrated, when the believer wants a child in paradise, he will be conceived and born and grown up in a short while according to his desire. And on the right side, you see something similar. The believer, when he desires a child in paradise, he shall be carried in pregnancy, born, and complete his aging in an hour as he desires. Both Hadith al-Hasan, once from Ibn Majah, once from Tirmidhi. Here, what you're trying to basically tell us that if you really want to have kids in heaven, you can basically choose whatever exactly you want your kid to be like, and then have a baby all within an hour. But why I'm asking, like, why do you even need to get pregnant? Just ask Allah and He will kun fayakun it. Like, make it right there, right?
Yeah.
And this is literally like this, or Allah is like sitting there with genetic engineering kit fixing. Okay, you want blue eyes? I'll put the blue eye gene in there or something. Like this is absurd. Like, it's just. Majority of women don't go to paradise. Now, this has a huge backdrop to it. Why there's long hadith about it. The women don't go to paradise as much because they curse their husbands. And then there's a word, naqisatul aql, where Muhammad actually believed that women were deficient in intellect compared to men. It ties it on along with this, and he said that he saw women in more in hell than heaven, which is again very misogynist. It's so bad. No paradise for women who unnecessarily ask for divorce. So on the left side, we see the Prophet said, if any woman asks her husband for divorce without some strong reason, the odor of paradise will be forbidden for her. So this is like, the psychological thing. Hey, you want to go to heaven? Well, you better obey your husband and be nice to him. Don't start fights. It's like using theology and religion for your personal gain. It was narrated from Thoban. Any woman who asks her husband, paradise will be forbidden to her. It's the same thing.
Okay, so yeah, again, blaming and attacking women.
Yep. Again, so this is ridiculous. The Messenger of Allah says, no woman annoys her husband, but his wife among the houris says, do not annoy him. May Allah destroy, for he is just a temporary guest with you, and soon he will leave you, and you wonder, what the hell? So you're literally blackmailing your wife with imaginary supernatural sex goddesses living in heaven. Come on.
Yeah, and we still haven't got to any benefits for women. Okay, there we go. So this verse actually finally says women, both believing men and believing women, will get guidance, and
that's it. Finally,
basically they'll get guidance and the basic real estate. That's what they get. But no,
Allah was very concerned. He should have mentioned with the same intensity, like he was talking about the breasts of the females. He should have talked about the parts of the males and for the female Muslims in the Quran, just to be fair.
Muslim scholars will say that women, it's not. Noman Ali Khan actually has a clip like this. Actually responded to him. He's like, if you ask 10 teenage boys what they want, and you ask 10 teenage girls, the boys will all have the same answer, but the girls, they'll all have different things. I want to have a pony. I want this. I want that. But
What?
it's so silly that
That
he
is a silly
the
area.
example of young boy, like young women love sex as well. I mean, this
Oh
is
yeah, yeah. In fact,
say that-
our age is supposed to be 33, is what I was told in heaven. So like that does, yeah.
it just belittles and infantilizes men and belittles women. Women have the same desires that men do. I mean, it's silly to kind of throw them to the wayside like that. Okay,
Yeah.
that's all we have for women in Islam. I couldn't find anything specific, and that's all we have, just a general
Yeah.
sort of paradise.
Yeah, about just the beauty and whatnot.
Yeah.
All right. So rivers of milk and honey. Now, as you can see, that milk and camel milk, so the connotation in the Arabian desert, the milk had a lot of popularity, and like you see with honey too, it's very valuable and it's a very high calories. And in fact, Muhammad, I remember when I was younger, when I was a Muslim, I used to drink like honey in the morning after Fajr mixed in warm water. Somebody told me it was sunnah. I don't know if it was. But then again, you can see that the incentive is quite clear that their imagination is literally bottlenecked and limited by 7th century thinking. That's basically it. Like, would I be asking for rivers of milk and honey in the 21st century? No, there's hundreds of more better things. Anyways, let's keep going.
Yeah, I just want to I just want to add that how is this appealing? What if like I'm lactose intolerant? I mean, my lactose intolerance will probably be now. Lactose intolerance is a genetic thing, right? My genes don't have the thing to break down the lactose, the sugar in the milk, right? I don't like honey that much.
I like honey, but it's like it's
rivers of honey. Really? Like rivers of honey?
Yeah, but like I said, it's a personal preference, right? And this is so subjective. That's why you should have just said people will get what they want.
Goat milk, like what is cow milk, like buffalo milk, like
exactly.
Oh, what like?
Which milk is this? Cow milk, camel milk, buffalo milk, goat milk.
The taste never changes, apparently. Well,
every type of milk is different. Is it human milk? Can we have that today? Oh, hoorie milk, dude. Oh my god, I just had an idea.
All right, so there's also fat birds, I guess, fried chicken sort of idea in paradise. Omar said this is plump and luxurious, the birds that have necks like the necks of camels. So the messenger of Allah, those who consider them more plump than that and it. Is he saying you're going to become fat in Jannah because you're going to be like eating all your fried chicken? And I don't know, like I didn't totally understand this hadith, but I think
everyone,
yeah. Okay, fat birds in Jannah. Okay, so now this is a more serious topic now. Anyways, yeah. So basically, this just the whole emphasis on going to paradise is very much emphasized. You know, the highest rank in paradise is those who are prophets. You cannot become a prophet, but you can become a martyr. So on the day of the Battle of Uhud, a man came to the Prophet and said, "Can you tell me where I will be if I get murdered?" The Prophet said, in paradise. The man threw away the dates and he fought till he was murdered. Narrated Anas bin Malik. The Prophet said, nobody who enters paradise would like to go back to the world, even if he got everything on earth, except a mujahid, a fighter, who wishes to return to the world so that he may be murdered 10 times because of the dignity he received.
Okay, that is very weird obsession with martyrdom, and then I just found this one interesting hadith I was looking for. I'm just gonna quickly share screen this.
Okay.
Actually, I'll just send it to you quickly.
Sure. Funny comment. My milkshakes bring all the jihadis to Jannah.
Okay, I'm putting it in the chat here. Okay.
Yep.
You share that on your screen. This is about the martyrs and how they end up going to heaven. So as you can see, he asked, "Think not those who are slain in Allah's way as dead, nay, they're alive, finding sustenance in their Allah." So basically, there's a verse that said that jihadis or mujahideen, when they're killed, they don't die. Martyrs don't die; they're still alive. The souls of the martyrs. Listen to this shit. I'm not making this. Souls of the martyrs live in the bodies of green birds who have their nests in the chandeliers hung from the throne of the Almighty. What the fuck just happened? And they eat the fruits of paradise and they nestle in these chandeliers. So these mujahideen are just sitting with Allah as birds eating in chandeliers.
I
It's
don't know,
from
man.
Sahih Muslim, by the way, if anybody's wondering, it is Sahih.
I'm sorry to say that this actually is very real and very dangerous to this world.
Yep.
These ideas are very, very dangerous. This is used by people who actually kill themselves.
Oh yeah, the
This
idea
is
of houris and martyrdom and the fascination completely
yeah.
it feeds on to like a lot of people sometimes, I wouldn't say that, but some people do say that Islam has a death cult fascination with martyrdom. And I can see that, yes.
It is a problem. It is a very real problem that Islamic texts have this concept. It's just, anyways, I'm just sad, but I don't have anything else to say about that. Let's I do want to take one. Oh shoot.
You're almost done.
Yeah, so that's the last slide actually. So we can take another caller if you like.
Yeah, we can take one call and end it there. But
Yeah. So in conclusion, be rational. There's no paradise. Make peace with your life now. If meditation helps you, find different ways to come to peace with the reality as it is. There's just no good evidence for this. We try to show, from the hadith, and not just the hadith, but the Quran as well, like what a strange, contradictory idea Jannah is. We didn't talk about Jannatul Firdaus. You did talk about different levels of paradise. There's Jannatul Firdaus, which is the highest one, and there's the lowest one, and there's different ones. And we talked about how this, leads people to be dangerous because of idea of martyrdom is so praised in Islam.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. I was gonna take a call from TMK, but he left. If you come back, TMK, I'll take your call. That you're gonna be the last caller. Yeah, you want to add anything while we're waiting for him to come back?
I would say that if you view the Islamic concept of heaven and hell, especially heaven, from a holistic perspective, you cannot sustain it rationally. It just makes no sense. It just makes no sense, dude. Like, come on. Let's be real. Like, you have the concept appears to be that there's this you go to heaven, you sit around on couches and you have unlimited sex with hundreds of girls every day, and you drink wine and eat honey and pomegranates, and you enjoy just women. And then what do women get? Whatever, Allah doesn't say much. And then you're not even sure, like you have what age you'll be. Okay, will you still have free will? Who knows? Okay, well, you will get these fruits and stuff, but well, why do you need dietary needs? Well, will you actually then excrete? Because the hadith says you want to urinate or defecate, right? So you can keep eating. So there are so many problems about the concept. And the whole idea of sexualizing women, it's absurd. It's disturbing levels of objectification
without sexualizing men. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just very one-sided, right?
Yeah, it's dangerous, and we can see how if you were to give these descriptions to young emotional teenagers who are very attached to the religion, you can use this to make them do some crazy things. And sadly, we have seen this. All I want to say is, people, like, actually sit down and think, is there any reason to accept this conception of heaven over, let's say, the conception of Christianity or Judaism or Hinduism or Zoroastrianism? If you don't have any evidence, you cannot choose or even distinguish one from the other, let alone get to the point which one's real, right? So I feel heaven and hell are just a continuation and a psychological anchor that people use to comfort themselves from the fear of death, that, oh, even if we die, we will live on in some other dimension. But in all its essence, I mean, it's just people having a hard time coming to terms with the concept of death, not realizing that they will just return to the same state when they were before their birth. The universe had existed for billions of years and they didn't give a shit about it. You will die and it will become just like that. Like I said, it's hard for a lot of people to accept our own insignificance, and this ties into undoing of human exceptionalism first, which has unfortunately completely and utterly dominated our discourse in the past 1,000, 2,000 years, or actually most of our history. But yeah, just think about this. Just think about this. Is this possible? How likely is this to be true? Okay. At the end, that's my few cents. Until next week, we will talk about hell. So it will be kind of a good antithesis to this episode. So until then, from my side, it was a pleasure talking to you all today. I learned a lot. We got a lot of great calls and questions, and it was quite a roller coaster today, honestly. There was a lot of weird, bizarre stuff that I found out that I hadn't even heard before about the houris and stuff. So I hope this helped you all see for yourself how man-made and how lame and how childish and silly Islamic heaven is. Yeah, from my side, it's Science Hafiz. And anything you'd like to add, Abdullah?
Like Handy is saying, girls just want to have fun. Hear that, Allah? So, don't forget your female servants as well. They actually complained to Muhammad that, all of this stuff about men. The companions of Muhammad, the female companions, actually complained that you're always revealing verses about men. And then lo and behold, there came a verse about women. That was for the believing men and the believing women, the pious men and pious women, whatever it says. And as people, keep saying, I hope that women are freed from this religion and men are freed from this religion. All of us, we are doing so much better now. Both us, two Abdullahs, us naughty servants of Allah, are doing so much better without Allah in our lives anymore. There is no Allah, there is no hell, there is no heaven. Just take your time. Just keep searching, keep doing research, and eventually you will come to peace with the reality that there is no God, and there's no Jannah coming, and it takes a while, but keep it up, and hopefully we are contributing something that you guys can benefit from. And so share the video with others and send us your ideas. Your donations as well are most appreciated. And so we will continue doing this. This was I think the most popular show so far. So let's keep it up and keep going. And if you have any interesting guests as well, you can email me or message Abdul Gondol, either one of us. Let us know what you think for topics or ideas, and we'll do it. No, we're not going to take any more calls. Sorry, we went over time. But next time, thanks everyone. Bye.
Thank you.